We are in fact live, and possibly tweet to the world.
Most excellent.
Let me
The
double
whole
check that
world.
we are in fact live. Well, I mean,
And
possibly whichever portion of the world is actually paying attention. Which,
Most excellent.
yeah,
The
double
whole
check that
world.
we are
I was
in
gonna
fact
say,
live.
probably
Well, I
just
mean,
to Europe,
whichever
North Africa, the Near East, India, Central Asia.
I
These are the
mean,
places on the Crusader Kings map. So
I was gonna say, yeah, this is like so. I have a question, Adam. What's this game we're
Yes.
about to play?
Oh, this is Crusader Kings III, which I could best describe as maybe a grand strategy RPG hybrid set in the European Middle Ages, but not containing itself entirely to Europe.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, not particularly succinct, but I feel like it covers most things.
Well, and I mean, as you will see, there's no perfectly succinct. I don't think description of what's going on in this game, because a lot's going on in this game. Like the RPG elements are very interesting, but the fact that you never have complete control over anybody is also very much key, right? Which is a hallmark of some but not all kinds of RPGs.
You really, and this is not a unique observation to me, you really basically play as a body snatcher. You play as this immortal, immaterial being that is passed down through feudal inheritance law somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, yeah, because the only as we'll talk about certainly and maybe see, the only game over state is if your current monarch dies without an heir, right?
Right. And dies without an heir in your dynasty, which is different from your house.
Sure.
So like it's this bigger overarching thing.
Yeah. Totally. That's a very good.
Which
distinction.
isn't to say it can't happen. It certainly can.
Certainly. No, I just meant you are in a certain strange sense playing as the dynasty, which is
Indeed.
Yeah, I mean, is that usual in grand strategy games? I feel like it's not.
It is not. No, you are usually playing as a polity, the abstract idea of the nation, I suppose. Your 4X games, you might pick a leader, but they're not mortal. If you play as Cleopatra in Civilization 6, it's not like Cleopatra dies and has to be succeeded. Even though you're playing potentially 7,000 years of history.
Right.
And then other things that are a little bit more in this vein, like Europa Universalis, which is the same developer, and I think was their sort of flagship product before Crusader Kings II kind of built its niche. You are playing as England, and yes, England has a ruler who will die and need to be succeeded, and their stats will affect you, but like it doesn't. It's a relatively minor consideration, all things sort of taken into account.
Sure. Well, let's get this show on the road. So I'm going to host a multiplayer game. You're going to join me. And the first thing it's making me pick is whether we're starting in 867 AD or 1066 AD.
So I tend to go for the earlier start dates personally, because I like to be able to, sort of have a bigger, more divergent alternate history timeline. The main reason in my mind to start in 1066 is that there are more people who are feudal. Whereas tribal is very much interpersonal politics and like trying to manipulate things so that your realm doesn't fragment when you die. Feudal governments tend to hold together a little bit better upon succession and give you a few more options. So for me, doing all that tribal stuff is quite fun, right? It's like, how do I expand and sort of consolidate across these generations and eventually get myself into like a feudal or even imperial system, building on all that stuff. And I also like doing the religious side. And when I say that this game has been out for like a week, I'm bringing over a lot of stuff from Crusader Kings 2 here.
Sure.
Talk about my preferred play style. So some of the stuff may work better, some of it may work worse in this one. I haven't done an amazing amount in it so far. But
and we should say the way we're going to play is sort of ported over from Crusader Kings 2 as well, because I think the idea was it was more going to be a PvP mode when people played together, but it very quickly became, de jure, de facto, I should say, co-op. Well, de jure versus de facto will become relevant as well. Yeah, so like we're going to try and do it that way, and I don't think the game is going to fight us on it, but it's not necessarily designed from the ground up for it either.
Yeah, this very much is a play it your way kind of thing. and that basically just gives you the systems to play in. In fact, one of the things I really liked about this one was I observed when I was first starting my first non-tutorial game that you can play as an observer. You can just use this as like an aquarium or a screensaver.
See, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
World historical sea monkeys.
I really like that. So, I have a mild preference for starting earlier. The other reason behind that being this game seems to have added a lot to the religious side of the mechanics. And some of my favorite multiplayer experiences are like starting with a friend in the earliest starting point as tribal, polytheistic, like non-Christian pagans, and like establishing our own religion, establishing our empires. And I think in our most successful one, playing as Kurland and Sweden, respectively, we managed to essentially eliminate Catholicism from Europe. We there was still a pope because there's always a pope, but I ruled Rome as the reformed Germanic pagan emperor of the Wendish Empire, and so we just had it as headcanon that the pope basically had a Bible study in a basement in Rome every week, and that was about it.
Not life as it is, but life as it could and ought to be. Okay, let me.
So the recommendation for playing in 1066, like I said, is it gives you just kind of like more consolidated, stable realms to pick from. So
yeah, well, I think the more alt history can be, the more interesting it is, and the longer a life this potentially has, the better from a content perspective. Saying it like a pirate, like Mike Rignetta. So let's go with 867. I'm going to hit host game. And so far, it hasn't asked me any other questions. I made it a private game, but we're friends on Steam, so that shouldn't be an impediment.
I mean, I'm scrolling this list, and I don't see any non-password protected games, because what kind of psychopath would just let randos come into their extremely long-term grand strategy game?
What kind of chaotic neutral nonsense would that be?
Right.
Okay, so
I guess it could be fun.
I am here by beset by a map.
Okay.
The accuracy of which you can speak to better than I can. But I suppose we should decide who we are to be. Can you see my game already, or do I need to decide who I am before that'll happen?
So I don't think I will be able to see it. I don't know what you named it, so I can't really...
It didn't ask for a name once I said private.
Okay, interesting. So I think maybe you need to invite me if it has been hosted. I have not used this particular platform before, obviously, because...
Sure.
It's my first time playing multiplayer.
Brand new. Okay. How do I do that? Invite more players by sending them the server ID.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, if you message me with that, I can copy it into my
we're on a stream,
field.
So this is less private than it might have been. But if anyone decides to be a Chaos Muppet, I can always just not accept them.
Chaos Muppet is a very good turn of phrase. I really enjoy it.
I can't remember who it was. There was somebody who wrote an article about how, fundamentally, like, forget the stars. Everyone is a Chaos Muppet or an Order Muppet, and that's what it really comes down to.
Pretty much. All right, well, I got a link.
Well, it's a server ID. I don't know.
No,
I don't know if you click it or you plug it in or you put it in a stew. I don't know.
I super got a YouTube link, so I am now watching our stream.
Whoops, I copied the wrong thing. Okay, hold on. Working the kinks out.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The good news is that with this link, I can now see your map.
That is cool.
Can judge Charlemagne for splitting his realm so illogically that Lotharingia was always completely doomed.
So when it says it's copying the server ID to the clipboard, I'm starting to believe that it's lying to me about that.
Perhaps.
I have my suspicions.
It might be.
Let's try that again. Now that I've clicked it 50 times, which I think makes it do better. We should say...
It's like the elevator button.
Exactly. It's totally not copying it. And that's a lot to type. There's got to be a better way to do this.
Can you use the Steam overlay to just right-click my name and invite?
Oh, probably, yeah.
I mean, that's also going to make it not private because you're streaming, but...
Well, I don't want to invite you to watch. I want to invite you to play. I don't actually know. Are you seeing the Steam overlay right now? I'm not actually sure how that works.
I am, yes.
Okay, well...
Or rather, I'm seeing it on a delay because...
Sure.
All right, well, so they haven't done the Steam integration thing, apparently.
Interesting. Okay, well, I mean, I could make this public and password protected and then only...
Well, so the thing I was going to say is that you might also... now that I can see your screen, if you clear the overlay, let me see if I can enlargify it. Yeah, I think this is wanting me to be in, because if you just hit start, I don't know. I think it's going to start. Like I think the game
Right.
is going to start.
Well,
So
maybe well, who do we want to be? Where do we want to start? That is probably an
good
important
question.
question. So this might get
I
less strange once I am someone rather than no one.
quite possibly. I have had fun playing, relatively early feudal rulers in India. Although that does mean that like your, sort of divergence is smaller. The good thing about that is that there are relatively established places that you pick. We could do, sort of a Mediterranean. We want to probably be close to each other so that we can come to each other's aid.
For sure.
So the other options are like Scandinavia and the Baltic. A really common starting place is in Britannia,
Mm.
because it is kind of like its own little ecosystem and not too overwhelming at first. I kind of would shy away from it for this, not only because kind of everybody does that as the tutorial sort of recommends, but also just because I think it's a little bit more fun in a kind of chaos sort of way to mess with things that are in the thick of it.
Yeah,
So
and also
some
if our goal is to
options.
do an alt history, then people from Britannia eventually taking over everything isn't as alt as we might
True,
wish.
true.
So yeah.
So some things that are possibilities. I mentioned before having done like a Baltic alliance. A fairly strong start is Holmgarther, which is above Minsk, if you can find it. Sort of to the right of your cursor, where I'm looking at it. Uh,
Um, I'm gonna
which
look.
is
I'm
the
gonna look like a
precursor
big dummy wummy
to
trying to find these places with these old names. Apologies there.
Novgorod, if you know where that was, is the
Let's
name
see
that
here.
eventually Holmgarther was.
Okay, okay.
It's near Livonia, Minsk,
I am so overwhelmed with
south of
information here.
Finland.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, okay.
So that's the semi-legendary kingdom founded by Rurik the Viking.
Okay.
Uh, in northern Russia, the sort of precursor to Russia when power moved up from Kiev and Rus. And the good thing about that is it's sort of a tribal occupying force. It's relatively large. Rurik himself is pretty badass, although I think he's probably dead by the 800s.
Sure.
But so that's one possibility. A friend of mine and I have played as Tibet and India. That is to say, I think he started as Guj and I started as Pala, and we sort of founded our empires from there and moved westward. After that, those are again more feudal starts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as familiar with North Africa in this particular bookmark, but it's also kind of an underdog place to play in.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
And then of
certainly
course,
that's an interesting alt history from the first.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you can also think about who do you want to be sort of expanding outward with our time hopping skills, right? Sub-Saharan
Right.
Africa could be fun if slow at the beginning. We could take, Slavic non-Christians, Swomanusko. We could make the Finno-Urgic family dominant instead of a language isolate. Germanic people obviously are a popular one as well.
Yeah, that gets into the thorny topic of the politics of how people play these games, which we'll get into at some point. But
yeah, I have an acquaintance who I believe did his doctoral dissertation on exactly that.
is that so? That's amazing.
We could definitely discuss that as well. So yeah, I mean, the other thing you can do, of course, is click on a realm and kind of see what it's got to offer you.
Yeah, yeah.
In that pane to the right there, where it says click on map to select a character to play, you can kind of see what you'd be working with.
Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah. God, I am so spoiled for choice here.
It's true. That is one of the things that this really does. Oh, I didn't even notice the random character button. That's amazing.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, let's click it. We're not married to it, but let's click it.
Yeah.
King Boris of Bulgaria.
Cool. So the map views down in the bottom right can also be helpful if you want to be like, I don't want to be a count or a duke.
Oh, that's neat.
Like you can kind of filter it to show you different things. I want to be this religion or that culture. Right now we're looking at independent realms, so people who don't have any rulers above them.
Oh, that's interesting. Which we don't necessarily, that's not a must, especially at this early date.
Yeah, it does slow you down in terms of like really getting things going at the start. Oh, hi, King Constantine of Alba. That's who I was playing as in single player earlier.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, starting as an independent ruler lets you kind of like jump off the blocks. But starting as like a duke in a larger kingdom or a king in a larger empire also has its charms. You do a lot of intrigue that way. Puts a lot of emphasis on sort of the political side of the game.
Yeah. God, I'm having fun spinning the wheel here. Is the other problem?
Yeah.
So is this a larger geographic area than the previous game slash games?
So yes and no. Crusader Kings 2 vanilla didn't go much past Byzantium. You kind of got the Levant in there and part of the Middle East, and that was about it. And then different expansions expanded the map in different ways. This is pretty much the entire real estate, plus some actually, of the end of the CK2 map, right? Like where Crusader Kings
Mm-hmm.
2's expansions, the furthest extent that they expanded to, this has a little strip on the east and a little strip on the south that goes beyond that. So,
Gotcha. We should say as well. I mean, there's obviously a fair bit of like randomness and procedural stuff and roles and all that, but we're starting from a pool of basically real to real ish rulers, right?
right, yeah, to the best of our ability to research, I say our, really to the best of Paradox's ability to research and then realize. They
Right.
have done an amazing job putting these historical bookmarks in. Now, they didn't do the map resolution down to like, individual, like, writings and manners and things. And so they didn't do the ruler resolution down that far. And they have done some approximation in places for sure. There are plenty of concessions if you go looking for them to systemic viability, for lack of a better
Sure.
word.
Sure. No, it is after all. It's the game system. It like history is subordinate to the game system, not the other way around. This is not primarily
Correct.
a history lesson.
But I will say that over the course, the life cycle of Crusader Kings 2 and then this game, as far as I can tell, they have done a remarkable job with the kind of overall fidelity. They found kind of the balance that they wanted to, both in terms of like who ruled what and when, and just in terms of like what kinds of laws and inheritance and customs were actually at play. So again, to the resolution that their systems allow, they appear to have been fairly diligent. Now, I am a medievalist by training, but medieval England and a little bit of Scotland. Once you
Mm-hmm.
start studying things that require you to learn several languages to a degree of literacy just to understand any of it, you necessarily specialize fairly narrowly.
Sure.
I can't really comment on like, oh well, they got Luxembourg really right, but Finland, man, they really screwed that up. Like I
Sure.
don't have the qualifications there.
Definitely.
Uh,
Okay, well, I've been spinning the wheel while we've been talking. I've come to the conclusion that there are way too many good options. So,
fair enough.
is there some person or place you've wanted to play as that you haven't yet? Can we scratch an itch
Ooh.
for you?
Well, zoom back out so that I can see it on the stream. And boy, that's actually really tough.
We did. I mean, so if we talked about just like going just north of Minsk, is that something you've done before you want to do again, or is that something that's on your Crusader Kings bucket list, as it were?
Here's the thing that I was thinking of. I have played as Holmgarther before in the 760-ish earliest bookmark, but in single player. And I guess it's not actually called Holmgarther at that point. It's pre-Rurik, but and I made the Empire of Russia, and then the Mongols came and wiped the floor with me, and then a version update invalidated that save. But it's a pretty strong starting point. And the good thing about it is that it gives you a modest, independent kingdom with plenty of options, but also plenty of challenges. So my thought is this: what if you played as Holmgarther, and I could pick something nearby and a little bit kind of just for fun, Finland maybe.
Yeah, I like it.
And see where we can go from there. Now, that will make us not part of the same culture and religious group, which can make it a little harder to ally up. But fortunately, unreformed Baltic pagans didn't actually care that much about, evangelizing and heresy and stuff. So
Right. We're not gonna be making an anti-pope day one, or we're not gonna have to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
and if I really bomb it and everything goes completely to hell, that should also be fun to watch, and then we can start over another time.
It's hard to beat the Troublemaker here. So, all right, Rurik,
Yeah.
you're up to bat. Okay.
All right. So I think
So
if you hit select,
I have done so. You may not see it on the stream yet.
yeah.
Um,
All right. So now let's see if we can get me in here.
yeah, that's key. That's key to
Oh,
this whole
actually,
endeavor.
you know what? I just realized it is kind of a lot to fat finger in, but I could just a second ago see your ID, so I can maybe just type it in.
I mean, if that's what we got, that's what we got. I'm deeply sorry that that's where we're at in life.
083. Well, it's not really your fault that the copy function has not worked for you. So right,
I am on a Hackintosh right now, so copy paste is one of the things that sometimes just doesn't work.
I did not realize that you were being so rebellious here, and maybe it is your fault after all.
It is the most chaotic neutral of OS installations, come to think of it. But it really is just like I have a little image on my laptop for games where I don't especially want to use my setup where I'm far from the screen. Like if I'm playing the Souls games, or even I was playing Mutazione, like an indie game with big old text on the screen. Then I'm sitting on the couch with a controller. For a game like this, I would be going up to my TV and squinting at it the entire time. Basically, there's no point. So yeah, which I should say, while Adam's doing this, folks, we may at some point do like a split screen thing that might be helpful, especially because Adam is way better at this game in this genre than I am.
Do not oversell me. I have only played part of one game of this.
I mean, the main thing I'm excited about is you having historical context, but you are also good at these. Like it's your thing more than it's my thing. I suppose that's all I'm saying.
It is extremely my thing. I fortunately do not remember how much time I put in Crusader Kings II, because it would be deeply, deeply telling, and make people worry about me. I mean, granted, that's been like since 2012. Like I've had the better part of a decade to log that, but it's definitely over 1,000 hours.
It's a slow burn of a game, but yeah, I figured it was somewhere in that neighborhood. But yes, all that to say, it is a very information-rich map, as I'm sure you can already tell, anybody who doesn't play these games. So we're not going to overload you any more than you're already overloaded. We're not going to split screen it. We're also just not going to be bothered from a tech perspective, since we're having enough time just getting enough of a time just getting Adam into the game.
So I'm pretty sure I've got this right, but I am going to read what I've got in the server ID, since everybody can see it anyway. If they're tuning into the stream, it won't be less secure. And you tell me if I screwed anything up.
Okay, bring it.
So, D4F083E0 hyphen BC6A hyphen 4A92 hyphen 86BA hyphen 4D6C94B4F0A9 period NAKAMA-0.
That is exactly what it says.
Thank God. All right.
I feel like we're building we're doing AI erotica audiobooks right now. Like ASMR random strings of text.
If I laugh loud enough that it hurts people's ears, it's your fault. I just want that to be known.
I accept responsibility.
So, okay, one of the things to think about, too, that I wasn't thinking about before, is if we play this long enough term, we're probably each going to want at least one empire. And so we should try to be in separate ones. That's not a bell of doom, right? If you don't do that, you can create your own empire, you can take over the next door one. It's not the end of the world, but at the moment, you would be in the Empire of Russia as Holmgarther. And so my options are, to be neighboring you, but not hopefully encroaching on your territory, would be to take something in the Volga-Ural Empire, Khazaria, Carpathia, the Wendish Empire, or Scandinavia.
Okay.
As I have very little experience with anything in kind of the northeastern quadrant of the map, as fun as that could be, I'm worried that I would completely tank myself trying to take on Khazaria, the independent nation that exists currently, if I tried to start with something smaller. And looking at the religions, you at the moment are a Satru, which is Norse paganism. And I could certainly start in, proto Norway or proto Sweden or proto Denmark. And those would all be the same religion and basic culture group as you.
Proto Sweden's on my mind because I've been reading that new Beowulf. But
right. You should be able to actually find Geatland in here. I just don't remember precisely where it is.
New Beowulf, but
off the top of my head. In any case, other options.
Yeah, don't look at me. If you don't know, I sure as hell don't know.
Yeah. I really should, but I just haven't thought about it recently. I do really want to read that.
It's great. Highly recommended. It seems like it. I think when people hear it described, it sounds like a stunt because,
right.
Wealthiao is described as #blessed and whatever. But it's all like that. Actually makes perfect sense if you know the text and Wealthiao's whole way of doing things. So
I everything that I have seen from it definitely makes me think it would be pretty great. So in any case, my options for religion are Slavyanskin, that is to say Slavic paganism, Vidalist, which I honestly, it's like Romova, in the Baltic there, which I know very little about, or Swomanusko, which is sort of Finno-Urgic animist polytheism. Let's see. I don't know if any of that sounds particularly interesting to you.
I mean, the ones that I don't know anything about are inherently a little interesting, but if you don't know about them either, that makes it maybe potentially one notch less interesting to actually play, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Yeah. I one of the things too here is we're definitely signing up to be tribal, which
totally
means that we'll have a chance to reform all this. We'll make it whatever we want, frankly.
Sure. Fair point.
But I will try not to make clicking noises with my mouth anymore into the mic.
It's quite all right.
Reflex.
No worries. I was learning about my air while you were making choices.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm torn. I feel like it would be pretty fun to play as sort of like Finnish Swomanusko, but I also feel like it would be pretty fun to try and expand the Vidalists, which are in like Prussia, Lithuania, Courland, Samogitia. I have played in that area before. It was fairly fun. Don't know how it would go this time. Oh, I need to pick something. So let me investigate these Finnish Swomanusko folks here and see if there's anyone who looks particularly promising.
Yeah, for sure.
Aurelia.
While you're doing that, I can explain to the people the very basics of, as we said, you don't have complete control over what your people do. You're playing as the dynasty, the legacy, the the Doro-like spirit hopping from person to person. Less sinister, I suppose. I mean, what in the world is not everything is less sinister than Doro in the what do they call it? Jesus, the Octavia Butler, the Pattern Master books. Anyway, you're hopping from person to person. So part of what determines what happens that you don't have complete control over is these traits. So in this case, my starting dude is gregarious, which makes him better at diplomacy, makes his schemes more powerful, makes people's opinion of him a little bit higher. He's ambitious, which makes him stressed.
It does also make him better at most things, and it has some of the most dramatic individual trait effects on other people's opinions of you and yours of them.
Other ambitious people are not going to be a big fan, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, and also it doesn't necessarily say this. Oh yeah, it does. Opinion of liege. Your opinion of your liege goes down because you want to take their spot. So you don't have one.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
But it does mean that if you have anybody ambitious in your kingdom, never ever give them any power, ever.
Noted. We should note as well, if you've never played these games, they are masterpieces of nested hypertext. Because it's like, okay, what's a liege? A liege is a ruler with at least one vassal. Okay, what's a vassal? Well, a vassal is a ruler who has sworn fealty to. Oh wait, I've just gone in the circle. Anyway. So
well, and this one is particularly good / bad about that. I learned I learned Crusader Kings II from its tooltips entirely. And this one, I have it set to where if I middle click on something, it locks the tooltip until I navigate away from it or middle click again. And so I have just been diving down these things. Sometimes they don't want you to know of a particular thing's sort of inner workings. And so you end up running into these like, oh, I guess I don't get to know anymore. But
sure. It's been an age since I played since I played just like the very small amount of Crusader Kings 2 that I did play, but I don't remember the tutorial being as good as this one was. This one was pretty solid.
Pretty notoriously not great. Not to say that there was nothing to be learned, but you know, pretty widely held to not be especially useful.
Should note as well, certain of these personal qualities are considered virtuous within the cultural or religious context that we are talking about. So, for example, my bravery is considered a virtue, or my dude's bravery is considered a virtue.
I'm trying to decide, do I want to go with the somewhat more holding dense area of Finland, the Duchy, or do I want to go with Oulu? I do not know how to pronounce Finnish, or Suomi, as I think they call it to this day. I have a couple of Finnish pop punk songs from the early 2000s on my computer, but surprisingly, they don't function great as pronunciation guides.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah.
People pronounce things strangely in music, especially music with like a specific cultural valence. I had no idea.
Well, and it's also like, okay, imagine if you took a Blink-182 song and then put a language that has no living relatives anywhere in the world into the lyrics. Like, it really didn't change to fit the particular cadences of the Finnish language in a way that's really charming and endearing and entertaining. But all right, yeah, I'm going to play as Oulu here because, you know, I'm as Finnish as the guy who actually owns Finland, and I'll show him.
Yeah.
So we've got one other thing here. I don't know that I can actually do anything with this. Yeah, I can just look at it, but there's a whole set of game rules. We can leave them on the defaults.
This was going to be my next question for you. Yeah, are there things we want to be non-standard about from the jump?
Depends. You can set a lot of these things, right? And if we want to be like more or less, you know, like working by the broad rules of history, then we can just leave them all.
So we can turn off friendly fire in terms of murder schemes. That is interesting. I don't think we're probably going to do any of that anyway. So it's, you know, it's not a well, who knows about our troublesome families, but not each other.
More to the point, things like you can set ahistorical gender equality. You know,
that's
if you
kind of
just
interesting.
and then when I'm not, you know, helping somebody sort of explore and demonstrate the systems of the game, generally the friend of mine and I who play this multiplayer will do that because it just, you know, gives you kind of more variety and more interest. You know, you can change the different rates of things. You know, you can change you know, kind of the attitudes that people have. The Mongols and Hungarian migrations, right? Can all
the Mongols will invade at a random date is a hell of a setting.
Yeah. You know, you may actually want to turn character nudity down. I don't know what your concerns there might be.
We're gonna get banned from Twitch, aren't we?
It's all the way at the bottom on the left, if you're looking for it. I think probably most of this stuff can stay the same. Like, I think it's more interesting if Lollery is particular to England, you know. But it may just be worth noting that there's a lot you can do here that is pretty interesting.
Sexuality distribution. All sexualities in the game are equally common. Interestingly. Huh. This is really neat.
Well, this is a game that actually, like, it used to be that you could just be, you know, same-sex attraction or not. And so the fact that they have sort of added in, you know, everybody has a little thing next to their name that says whether they're, you know, opposite sex, same sex, bisexual, asexual. And in fact, I had a character who started off lesbian, but then fell in love with her husband, and her little thing changed to bi.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I mean, so that's what I find interesting about it, right? This isn't like creating a bubble universe where everyone's gay or something. It's only ever about probabilities, and what you can do is just change how common stuff is.
Yeah, well, it's about probabilities, and on a character level, it's about opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Like when she was, when this particular character was sort of like expressing just attraction to other women, her likelihood of bearing a child was lower. Because these are, in this case, pre-Scottish, like Alban, North Britain nobility, tribal nobility. So they were obviously going to be married, to somebody of the opposite sex no matter what. But you didn't have to necessarily like it or like sleep with them a lot. But when she and her husband grew close, her sexuality marker changed to express not that necessarily she had been wrong about it before, but either, depending on how you want to uh, sort of read it, that things like sexuality can be fluid, or that it just is marking the fact that her chances of conceiving a child with her husband had gone up.
Right, right. Huh. Okay, so I guess the big question here is from your point of view,
Yes.
because like, so for example, if we did randomized faiths, that to me starts to get a little bit more toward like the civilization thing, where like the different leaders and cultures are almost just avatars. You know what I mean? Like it starts to disconnect some of the connections between what people look like and where they are in the map and what that meant historically. Now, obviously, again, the whole point is to change history, but what's interesting to me is to start from a point that is like meaningfully realistic-ish, and then let shit go crazy.
Right.
So yeah,
is a lot of the draw for me. Now, one of the things that a randomized faith, maybe not for this playthrough, but like just as an academic exercise can do, is basically it throws a chaos bomb into the early game, right? Like maybe Ireland is Muslim and England is Hindu and Scotland is still Catholic. Like now they're gonna just be like at war with each other all the time for like all out, rather than, oh, I have a hereditary claim on this area, so you have to give it to me. Like all of the kind of like fig leaves that they used for conquest go away. Something like William the Conqueror was based on these familial and religious connections. So you don't get that kind of early game stability, because your reasons for going to war, your casus belli against your neighbors of the same faith, are more limited, although more open in this game than in the previous one. So if you were to turn on random faiths, it would mean that like a lot of places in the game that wouldn't be default enemies early on would become default enemies.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's probably a form of chaos that is like, at least for our first go, maybe too much. I
do like the thing where we keep some relation to a common starting point in history.
Yeah. Now, as far as like the Hungarian migration and the Mongol invasion, given that history is changing, I don't see any real, like, there's no special reason from my point of view why that inevitably would have happened in 1200, regardless of anything else happening. Sure. The idea of that being random and that just being something that could happen at any moment is a little interesting, although it could, of course, end our ambitions very quickly.
That is what I was going to say, is that I'm probably a little less in the line of fire. You are in the bullseye for the Mongol invasion.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Having it be completely random is a risk. Although I think that if it happens early game, one of the mechanics will kick in that tribal governments of unreformed, non-monotheistic faiths have very high attrition costs. So if you move 100,000 horsemen into the forests of Finland, a lot of them are going to starve pretty quickly.
Got it.
But the way that supplies work in this game is still one of the things I'm wrapping my head around. So don't take that to mean that Adam said this would be okay, because I definitely didn't.
Okay. Okay. Well, then maybe we leave that. Maybe we leave those two default, because enough crazy stuff can happen, regardless. What does that random kingdoms thing do, by the way? Sorry, what were you saying though?
I was just to say, if we're changing things very, very much, then the results of something like the Mongols or the Hungarian migration, right, can either change things up a lot at those points, or if by the 1200s or the 910s, right, things have sort of like solidified in an area, then that can disrupt it. A historical stability
Yeah, no,
could,
that's
could be
true.
disrupted there.
Yep, I'm
So
into
what are
it.
we asking about?
Custom kingdoms. Yeah, what does that mean exactly? The creation of
Oh,
non-historical kingdoms and empires is allowed. So you
that
were
means
saying, yeah.
that means oh, I have conquered 80 counties, but I don't actually have all of a kingdom between them. I can still crown myself king because I hold so much territory, and just create the um, Caterjune's kingdom.
Sure. I mean, that
Um,
seems fun.
it's on by default, and I think it's a good thing to leave enabled, so that, like, the other thing too is you probably, if you play this long enough with a goal of conquest and expansion in mind, then you'll probably end up with like 4 or 5 kingdom titles, that you pick up along the way, and maybe they don't all cohere into an empire that's like de jure on the map. You can still be like, okay, I've got 5 kingdoms, I'm surely an emperor. um, and you can Charlemagne yourself.
Sure. Okay, I'm into that. Okay, so two final questions, and even though we've changed basically nothing, I'm glad we poked at this because it gives me a really good sense of what can happen in this game.
Well,
And
it's
also,
probably good for our viewers.
yeah, absolutely. So if the game does not end in 1453, what
Yes.
happens in 1453?
I do not know, because that was not an option that I was aware of in the unmodified previous game.
Okay.
I don't know if there's like an event. I don't think there would be for, like, Constantinople fell anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's really going to like throw anything off if we wanted to just go until we feel like we're done.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do that. That we will change. And then do we want to, having had the discussion about it, do we want to make this any queerer than the default?
Well, let me see. I keep on diving out of this screen.
No worries.
What are the options? So the default has, okay, yeah, just
So it says that, views on same-sex relations are determined by each individual faith or doctrine.
right. And that's something you can change in this game. Actually, you can
change the doctrines themselves.
Yes, if you have enough piety, you can split off your own branch religion, or in our case, right, we'll probably be reforming our religions and deciding what the doctrines are.
Yeah, I feel like we wanna like punch the trees in Minecraft. Like if we're gonna make an historical fact that religion X was fully accepting,
Yeah,
like we want to do that work ourselves, right? We don't
right.
just, yeah.
And one of the things I will say too here is that there are more interesting possibilities, with the doctrine system in this one. I haven't explored it very thoroughly, but in the previous game, there was an attraction and fertility math got changed, and then just people didn't like you as much if your religion cared, whether somebody was straight or not. In this one, there is more of a, sort of like, oh, well, Christianity shuns, same-sex attraction, but it might be criminal in another religion, or simply just like accepted in another one. Like,
Gotcha.
there's a lot
It's
more
not
sort of
binary.
gradation there. Yeah,
Yeah.
appropriately enough.
And well, there you go. No, I mean, and that it's super interesting to me that how accepted same-sex relations, as they put it, has no necessary relationship to how common a given sexual orientation is. You can sort of misalign or align those to whatever degree you find interesting. I mean, maybe we keep those on the default and just see how the game treats them, and we can always do, a queerer playthrough if we decide to.
Well, I didn't change any of this stuff for my single player game, and I started as King Constantine of Alba, and his heir was the lesbian woman I was talking about earlier.
Oh, nice.
Like,
I mean,
it's not like it's vanishingly rare.
That's also a really important thing to point out about like you were saying, the information the game discloses and withholds, right? It says here heterosexuality rather is the most common sexuality. Homosexuality, bisexuality, and asexuality are less common. It does not tell you how much less common.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that is like roll of the dice, right? Like,
of course. Yeah.
But over a system this big, I think last time I checked my full roster of characters in the game that I was playing, there were 27,000 individual characters that you could interact with potentially.
So even if there's even if the chances of these are 1/10 of 1% or whatever, and I'm sure they're higher than that, you would still get some.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Most things are going to be represented somewhere at some time.
All right. Well, I feel pretty good about this.
Yeah. I should probably actually click select on my dude.
Oh yeah, you're still not real. Now you're real. Okay. Wow, look at your golden braided beard.
That beard is glorious.
Oh, I would that I could. Beard goals. That is what we all hope to look like when quarantine is done.
Man, I say this as somebody who once as an experiment went 4 weeks without shaving and my face just got blurry.
You just looked like your identity was being protected by
pretty much.
I mean, I am a beardy person. It's back before I like if I want to be clean shaven, I have to shave twice a day. Like
wow.
Yeah. Guess where from the map part of my family anyway. There's some Russian Jews on my side, so there's some beards. Anyway, let's get this show on the road. Oh, I guess the last thing is difficulty, right? Normal is going to be reasonable for us, or is it going to crush me beneath its heel?
Genuinely never played on anything else. I would not have known there was a difficulty selector in this game if you hadn't just pointed it out. So okay. I think normal is probably fine.
Let the record show that normal is the hardest. Or at least the hardest we have access to initially.
Yeah, I feel like it probably is the hardest. I don't know what easy and very easy change, but I feel like part of what is fun about this game is rolling with unexpected punches. Now, we will not be playing Iron Man. We can save scum if we need to.
Sure.
I have done that before.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I also I find it interesting to be like, well, shit, my 12-year-old king died before he turned 16, and now his embittered 70-year-old uncle is king. That right. Sort of story is a lot of fun in these games.
Totally. It generates stories that you would almost certainly not generate for yourself, either because they're, disadvantageous or just too strange. You wouldn't think of it.
I think my second ever single player game of Crusader Kings II I played as Norway starting in 1066, and I had this guy, his father had married an Abyssinian, like, Miaphysite princess, and so his portrait was just of a black man, of an African. But he was king of Norway. He was Erland II, and he would eventually be called Erland the Cruel. And he took the throne when he was 4. He lived to be 96. He outlived all of his children, all 11 of them. And I think by the time he died, he had something on the order of 35 grandchildren.
Black Norwegian Ramses II, basically.
Yeah. It's really, really amusing.
That rules. So
and he died as Emperor of Scandinavia. Like, he expanded his holdings, so he was this, like, the Black Emperor of Norway. Like,
that's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, let's make this happen, or something like it. I will say, by saying no end date, we have disallowed achievements. I do not care deeply about achievements, but they are a layer of gameplay that could be interesting for an initial playthrough. So I'm going to say, if we make it all the way to 1453, good on us. We're clearly committed. We can then do a crazier playthrough. But for now, let's basically keep these default.
Well, I can't really express how long it will actually take us to get to 1453. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're losing too much by keeping that. So
the game needs to be played without modifications. Oh, single player is the only way you can get achievements. Well, then we're not getting achievements, so the hell with that.
Seems weird. I don't know why it would note it here at all.
Yeah, the tooltip says so, but other than that, it's not.
Well, my rule set still says no end date.
Oh, I changed it, but then I changed it back. It's like, if I reset to default, right, and I still get this little, this co-op is just you can't twink someone through, I guess. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Oh well. I would say that it probably is more fun to achievement hunt in single player anyway.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Personally.
Yeah, burn the world down. No, it affects no one but you. Okay, let's begin the simulation.
Some of them are extremely specific. So
I haven't looked at the list at all, but we'll get there.
all right. So immediately we start paused, and everybody is going to be looking at their screen. I am already okay. Dang. So what I didn't know is that this guy holds all 8 of his counties, my chief Kaleva, personally, but he only has enough stewardship to hold 4. So
you need to delegate or
vassals real fast.
Yeah, I was going to say. So is there something you can do other than come up with some vassals? Like, is there some way you could up your stewardship?
Sure. You can pick a lifestyle focus in the bottom left. And in fact, my guy specializes in stewardship. He already has 3 stewardship perks unlocked in the little tree there. So I could raise my stewardship immediately by up to 3, which actually I think would get me 1 more domain limit. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So yeah, you've got each of these corresponds to one of your stats. And there's a whole series of 3 trees for each of them, as well as 3 foci that you can kind of mix and match. And yeah, Rurik, unsurprisingly, is almost entirely gallant already. Martial is his big thing, which is good for a tribal leader. It helps you raise a lot of troops. It helps you gain a lot of prestige, which you spend a lot more of than gold. Feudal rulers need gold, but you only need a little bit of it. As a tribal ruler, you need a lot of prestige.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that one of the first things you're going to want to do is pick your lifestyle focus, as well as wherever your focus is what you're going to gain experience toward perks in.
Right. Well, sticking with chivalry and gallantry sure makes sense. Is this something you can? I guess you don't change it later because he grows old and dies, and you move on.
Well, you can change it, I think, once every 5 years.
Okay. Well, then sure.
So you're stuck with it for a while.
Great.
So then I'm going to select the domain focus under the stewardship tree here.
Nice.
Which should take me up to 5 max domain holdings. Oh, did we unpause?
I didn't intend to. That's for sure. Looks.
Oh, well, I just got a notification that my son is now my heir.
Oh.
And
we are still paused.
Don't really know where that came from.
My son can marry.
Anyway,
I am also currently under the seemly number of concubines for someone of my rank, so I am getting a prestige penalty. I mean, okay, that marrying my son and that both perfectly achievable things.
Yeah. So what Drew is looking at here is a suggestions notification or issues notification, right? It just tells you a bunch of the stuff that you could do or that you should pay attention to.
Right. It is not. It is not the case. These are not like daily quests. It's not that you should or have to do all of these things. These are just the things you could be focusing on right now.
Yeah. Here's some stuff.
Sorry, you're getting some dogs.
That's all right. I have dogs too. So rather than try to give just a comprehensive tour, I will let you direct my explanatory energies as you see fit. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to figure out this whole vassal situation. We're probably going to be just kind of clicking around this screen for a little while as we get our bearings. And then we will eventually start our journey.
Yeah, sounds good.
So some of the things to check out are the exact meanings of the sort of religion that you have picked here, which is in the bottom left as well. Obviously, you don't have to do it right this instant. But
just getting this concubine situation taken care of. Okay, you were saying. So yeah, we should say here we've got realm, we've got military, we've got council, we've got court, we've got intrigue, we've got factions, and we've got decisions. We will see all of these at some point.
Oh, sure. One of the things that I found interesting just now, I opened up the Swomanusko Unreformed Finno-Urgic Faith that I've got here, and its virtues are stubborn, just, and brave. Its sins are fickle, arbitrary, and craven. Which is fascinating, frankly.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It values solidity, stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah. I will say, too, I'm pretty close to most of the holy sites except for the one in Perm and I guess the one in Torun, which is what in modern. Iceland, maybe? I'm not entirely sure where that is
Hmm.
nowadays. I mean, it's on the border of Lithuania. Yes. De jure.
Right.
So that's another thing is that each of the territories in this game has sort of like traditional borders and territories that you can, sort of imbue with the force of law. So that, if I'm the Duke of um, Wessex, I am entitled to control of certain territories in the south of England. You know,
Yeah.
and if you don't control them, that can be a reason to declare war.
It looks like one of the things that's being suggested for me is that I convert the county, which makes sense.
So, yeah, because you are a conqueror. You are a Satru, or however you would pronounce that. Old Norse paganism, polytheism, I should probably say, as a connotation to it.
Sure.
But the people that you are ruling over are mostly Slavyanskan, that is to say, Slavic polytheism or Finno-Ugric. Yeah, I don't think you're any Asatru subjects. So you could convert yourself to their faith, or you could try to convert them to your faith. Um, one thing to keep in mind, if you may decide however you wish, but Swomanusko is my jam.
Noted.
If you care. So if you want to be able to found your own religion, stay away from my Swomanusko. If
Noted.
you want us to be able to cooperate on things like conquering halfway into Siberia in order to get a holy site in Perm, or you don't want me to have to hold on to a territory in along the Vistula River here that may be in your line of conquest, then Swomanusko may be the way to go. But those decisions can be made pretty much whenever and however you wish. I'm going to finish exploring what Swomanusko means for me.
Please
There's a
do.
self-help book title, I'm sure.
So you've decided to Swomanusko. So how do I know where I need to convert faith? I need to do this sort of one county at a time, but is it just anywhere with the yellow stripes? Like, is that what visually tells me?
So anything striped, there is a mismatch on, right?
Okay.
So I think that the yellow stripes are telling you that the folks in that county are Swomanusko. The gray in the stripes is telling you that you are a Satru, the ruler. The ruler's religion is you. You are a Satru. They are Swomanusko. So you get the gray of a Satru, and you get the yellow of Swomanusko. Down south of that, where you have the Slavyanskans, you'd have sort of a beige and gray striping.
I see. Okay.
Because the different colors for that combination. If you see a solid color, that means that the ruler and the people of the land are of the same religion.
Understood. Okay. So the mismatch is going to create instability. So, like you said, I could either convert or I could do what it's suggesting that I do, which is send out I do not know how to pronounce that word, but my religious leader to go and convert people.
I do not think I can see it well enough. And I don't have the same names because I am a different faith.
Sure.
I have a Noidi, maybe is how I pronounce that, as my religious leader. You have a Hofgothi, maybe? I can't quite tell if that's one. Is that an F there at the end?
That's not, it's a it's not a character that exists in
it's like a D with a cross. It looks
D
like
with a cross thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's an F. That's a TH sound.
F. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, that D at the end of Holmgarther is basically a capital F.
Gotcha. See, I don't know anything, but I'm learning.
Okay,
right, so
I am trying to get my bearings and get us ready to start here.
For sure. I don't have very many champions. That's a solvable problem.
So yeah, that's under your military screen. You can hire some or invite some. I too am down one champion. Champion would be knight in a feudal realm. In a tribal realm, it's a champion. These are your generals, your war leaders. That guy. Great titles. 2 duchies. I bet I don't have enough money. I do not. I don't have close to enough money. I'm gonna have to be doing some raiding. Let's take some concubines, shall we? Which, one of the other things that is characteristic of this franchise is talking very dispassionately about extremely questionable things. Some of the strategy in this game will amount to what is basically small-scale eugenics.
Sure.
And, you know, it's one of those things where, like, it's an interesting way to engage with the gameplay systems, even if it feels a little icky, and it's assuaged somewhat by the fact that the individual people that you're playing as probably don't have anything so gross in mind. Rather, you, the alien possessing spirit thing.
This is probably why I thought about Doro, to be honest.
Yeah,
But yeah.
probably.
Let me ask you this: speaking
Yes.
of dispassionate stuff and relating to these people as both pieces on a chessboard as well as people, when I'm looking at my champions, what is the key mechanical difference here between allowing someone to be a champion and forcing them to be a champion?
So I believe that force means that regardless of where they fall in the preference, you are going to make them, sort of represent you as a champion. Actually, probably a really good way to get someone killed is if they have a very low prowess score and you want to force them to be in your armies. But I don't know. I haven't had cause to use it because otherwise it's just the highest ranking, however many you can have.
Sure. Okay.
Join you. For the most part, but yeah, forbidding somebody from being a champion would mean that they are not going to see any combat, and so if that's like your heir, let's say, might be a good idea. But I don't know if there's any opinion penalties. I don't know if they would be like, oh, I can't believe you made me or wouldn't let me fight.
Right.
Not sure if that would be a thing.
That is definitely something that the game is usually transparent about, at least if it's an instant effect. And I'm not seeing any of that stuff. Yeah, so,
I would be surprised if there was something there and it didn't tell you.
Okay,
but
we'll let that be for now. We're letting a lot of people. We're not forcing anyone just yet. We'll see how things play out.
And now, that usually means that you, as many champions as you can have, it's going to take the best ones, and they're going to be your champions.
Sure. Well, it's time for my heir to marry. So now we start thinking about this. Speaking of small-scale eugenics, so I don't have a real sense of like where an alliance would be super useful at this point or any of that, and it might be too early to kind of say.
Yeah, well, I would say that the most useful alliance would be between you and I.
Sure, fair enough.
It would give us a legal reason to pull each other into wars, which is one of the big advantages that you can have early in the game is, every time you get into a war, since my body snatcher and your body snatcher are friends, we're going to help each other out.
Yeah,
even if that doesn't make perfect historical sense.
Right. It's going to make perfect metatextual sense. Okay, indeed. So yeah, let's see if there's anybody that'll work out there. I'm trying to think how to even search this other than just scroll.
There is, I don't know if you've used it, but if you go below where you have that window open now, you can sort things in that window by almost anything. That little drop down, as well as the little stat icons. You can filter things by popping out that little toggle filters thing. If you are not wanting to use the game's built-in filters, you can use that little more magnifying glass and go to find character, and just that little search thing there too works for not just the name, but the dynasty, the house, the trait, the culture, or the faith. And you can like sort of tag search basically.
Yeah.
In that little finder.
Jeez, it's eugenics with Google attached to it.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of Nate Crowley coverage of this on Rock Paper Shotgun, and he refers to it sometimes as medieval LinkedIn or medieval Tinder. So at the moment, there are apparently 24,010 characters in this game, according to the little character finder.
Which is kind of a lot.
Yeah. Quite a lot, I dare say.
Got it. So those are the rulers. I see. Okay.
So those are the 2 seats. I'm probably going to want to keep. I'm getting a feel for my geography here, and it presents some challenges.
Yeah.
Although,
So remind me your name or the name what your kingdom is actually called, or not kingdom, but your realm.
I am Chieftain Kaleva of Olu of House Kamilainen
Spell
of
Olu
Dynasty Kamilainen. What was I? Oulu is Oulu,
okay.
So it could also be Ulu.
Yes.
I do not honestly know. Forest wardens, you say?
I am already so overwhelmed in a good way.
Apparently, I get a special type of men-at-arms for being Finnish.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're archers, but like forest archers. You know, those forest archers.
You know, like regular archers, but the forest kind.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a way to just like look at the players in the game and what they're up to? That's another thing that would be useful.
I think that's a map filter. Yeah, there's a map filter for players. It'll highlight me with my goofy ass little name there.
Oh hey. Oh, that it's the Steam name on there. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
God,
I'm trying to
beard.
decide.
I had forgotten about your beard. More the fool I.
How could you forget about that glorious, glorious beard?
Okay, so you have. Here's your court.
There I am. Me, my wife, my 3 concubines, my kid. 2 kids.
Apparently, I now have the seemly number of concubines. By making my religious leader one of my concubines, that solved the problem.
Yeah, apparently. That's actually not a bad idea. I wish I'd have thought of that. From a strategic standpoint, at least. Not a bad idea. One of the other things, I don't know if you've messed around with it really, but your spouse has several different modes they can operate in. One that gives you sort of bonuses across the board based on their skills, and then ones that enhance each of your skills singly, but by more. So, for example, if I tell my wife to manage domain, I should actually get... no, not quite. I was going to say I should actually get to a high enough stewardship to keep an extra territory in my domain, but I think it falls one short. More fool I.
Yeah. In case you haven't noticed, by the way, folks, this is going to be a lot of us messing around with menus and being like, oh, what does this do? Oh, what doesn't that do? Oh, how do we?
Well, and especially at the beginning of any given game, especially if you are not especially familiar with the special rulers and regions that you've chosen, is just seeing what's around you and do with what you've got. Designate a guardian from the sun. Well, I am clearly the best my realm has to offer, so I will educate my boy. Both of them, in fact. Cool. I do need to be able to make those duchies. Because if my head is on right, I have until the penalties for being over my domain limit kick in to acquire at least one ducal title. Because if I give anybody a title, they're going to be independent.
Sure.
Because I don't have a higher rank than them. I am at the county rank myself, but I have 8 of them. So I need to get a ducal title so that I need to get 2 ducal titles ideally, so that the county ranks can still owe fealty to me without being independent. But that means that I have 22 wealth. I'm probably just going to call it gold for the most part. I'm getting 2.4 gold per month. I need, I think, 125 per duchy that I can create. Yeah, so it's going to be a minute.
I'm going to have to work on
a lot of raiding, I think. Try to sway my religious leader, my Noaidi.
So you may not have anybody marriageable in your court at the moment.
Probably not. I think this is one of those instances where the surviving records do not show very much detail about who may or may not have been around in this
Sure.
area of the world at this time, and so there just aren't. That said,
Because that's obviously the best thing to do with my son's marriage here.
yeah, unfortunately, I think if I had a daughter, it would be easier.
Sure, but you do not.
Let us try to do the seemly thing with our seemly number of concubines and wives and produce other children that we can then marry to each other.
That's fair enough. My son is young yet. This doesn't have to happen before we start the clock.
Yeah. Now I've got to investigate. Yeah. See, I can't yet wage war for a whole ducal title because I'm not yet illustrious. I am, dare I say it, not even established. No, I am established. Whew. But yeah, your level of prestige, little crowns up in the corner there, determine your ability to declare war for larger swaths of land or higher level titles. So I need to get that going a little bit. Do I want to move my capital? I wonder.
Okay, more land in my domain than my character is able to manage on their own. This is the same problem you were just having.
Yeah. You do have a little bit of a grace period. It doesn't immediately slam you. You have a new titles grace period, and since we just started, everything is new.
Sure.
For the moment. I'm going to have a lot of fun pronouncing the names of these places.
I'm going to let you do that for the most part, because I'm helpless.
Sigavara is pretty straightforward, but Inariyarvi, maybe? I don't know where stresses fall in Suomi. I'll probably have a little bit better luck with your territories, because while I don't know Russian or indeed any Slavic language, I am at least a little bit aware of like the phonetic system that it uses, which is more than I can say for Finnish.
Sure.
More than I can say for myself where Finnish is concerned. It's not Finish's fault that I'm an ignoramus. Huh.
Okay, so we got this little grant to button, which lets me vassalize somebody.
Yeah, you can also, if you have somebody in mind, or if you find that the list that you're presented with when you hit Grant 2 does not meet with your liking, you can always do it from the find character.
Oh, gotcha.
Thing too.
Is there
but you have your filters and your sorting here as well.
Is there a cap to how much someone can like you? Is 100 the highest opinion someone can have of you?
100 is the highest opinion that someone would have of you. If there's overflow, then it will offset any new penalties.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they can stay at 100. If their sum total is plus 250, they're going to show plus 100, but you could theoretically imprison them and they would still like you at 100 if there weren't other, like, you know, if it didn't wipe out most of their good stuff, you know, it would still be like, oh, well, yeah, I have minus 75 because he imprisoned me, but that puts me at, you know, positive 175. So,
well,
is there anything else that I should be doing?
This is good. My son needs to learn some responsibility. It's time he grew up, got a vassalage of his own, got out of the Guldang house. Okay. He has claims anyway, so that's fine. Okay.
Interesting.
Great.
Succession is Confederate partition. Yeah, that's about right. So my goal really is to get to a king level title before my current ruler dies, because there is no really reasonable way that I could keep my territory together with two sons other than to have one kingdom instead of two duchies. Because as you may have noticed, tribal rulers cannot change their succession law. It's always Confederate partition. You have to be feudal before you can start changing your succession laws. And that's one of the big challenges of tribal play, and one of the reasons why starting as a feudal ruler gives you kind of a more stable spot to start from. So if you, or indeed any of our viewers, are frustrated with the early succession struggles, then that ire can be directed at me. And I don't know if you saw it, but Joanne is in the chat saying I'm a hack into the mainframe.
I have not been paying attention to the chat because I am super overwhelmed. So yes,
Yeah, that's
by
a
all
pretty
means.
reasonable way to be feeling right now.
Speaking of which, I already have a peasant rabble factionalizing against me.
Yeah,
So let's see.
that happens pretty quick.
I can
Especially if you're ruling over a culture group that is not your own.
Right. Okay. They're not terrified of me. I don't have a strong hook on them.
Do I have anybody that could be a good physician? Any witches about? Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, I almost certainly won't have the money for it, but sure, search for a physician. Why not?
So a faction forming against me is not like an emergency, right? If they're only at 20% military power.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, and generally speaking, if they're peasant rabbles, you are going to be able to crush them. Those are really dangerous if you leave them alone for too long, or if you are like in the middle of another war and they pop up back on the home.
Sure.
I say this with great authority, but do know that I am drawing my confidence there primarily from the previous game. So
fair enough.
Take it with a little bit of a grain of salt.
So if I, just hypothetically,
yes,
if I were to pop open my "You can declare wars" note, and there were 13 wars that I could declare, is that pretty normal, or is that
for a tribal ruler, and especially like a non-Christian tribal ruler? I feel like that's pretty normal. I've got 9, and it's pretty much all of my names.
Okay, so this does not in any way mean that I should pursue any of these. This is just to be aware that
these are the wars that you could declare right now. Given like most times when you declare war, it's going to cost you either piety or prestige, or at least that's been my experience with Scotland so far. And I think it's going to list the ones that you could actually like click the declare war button on and have it go through.
Where there's some reasonable cause you could provide. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I don't think there's a whole lot more I can do before things start to happen. At least, or let me say more accurately, I don't know what else I should do before things start to happen. So, if you have any advice, I'm all ears, and otherwise, I'm good to start the clock whenever, and we can see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, so it feels like you inspected your council and kind of got that going to begin with. So, that would be that's the thing I'm on now. Is just you can probably hear my printer going.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean my fan's been going this whole time. So, but yeah, apportioning tasks from your council is what I'm on, and then once I'm done with that, I pretty much am going to raise a raiding army and go to town.
Nice. Oh, and I didn't actually take a look at that thing you were talking about, where I could have my high chiefess be a Jane of all trades as she currently is, or I could have her sort of focus on managing the domain, court intrigue, patronage. Mm-hmm. I mean, for the moment, we'll just have her do a little bit of everything, I suppose.
Yeah, well, and the passive one at the top of each of those lists, or rather, not of hers necessarily, but of the rest of your council.
Oh, sure.
Right, the one at the top is kind of the default passive thing, and they're all pretty useful. But like promoting your own culture or converting to your own religion, those are things that are, sort of they progress and then they finish. Increasing control if you have recently conquered a territory, if there's been a rebellion. Mm-hmm. Is a way to get your taxes and your levies back up to snuff. They're very useful, but situational a lot of the time. I don't think there's anything I need to do there. So my last thing then is going to be, how reckless can I be here? Do you think?
How reckless do I think you can be? As reckless as you want to be.
So one of the things you can do is under your military screen, you can create men-at-arms regiments that are sort of your standing army and are higher quality troops than your levies are. Your levies are just farmers with spears.
This costs you what, prestige?
Costs you prestige, at least as a tribal leader. I don't know if that changes when you get to be, feudal. But they also cost you prestige while they reinforce. Their maintenance month to month is based on prestige. And since prestige is a very valuable currency, I wonder if I want to do this now. I feel like I probably do though, because it's going to help me raid, and that's going to be a source of income. Tribal rulers don't get a lot of money in taxes, and so you have to, especially early on before you start expanding, you have to raid to get money,
Sure.
and you do need money to like improve your holdings, which you know helps with your levies, helps with your taxes, also sometimes helps with your innovations, which is the way that technology works in this game. And boy, does it go slowly, especially for tribal kingdoms. So I think I am going to see. I can probably do 2 or 3 of these men at arms regiments
Would this be a
here.
smart thing for me to spend some prestige on initially?
Perhaps. I don't know what else, what other options you got. It looks like you have more prestige than I do. But yeah, if you don't have the money, oh, you do have the money. So the two things that I think you could profitably spend money and prestige on are your men at arms regiments and or improving your holdings.
Okay.
You know, which is sort of a longer term thing. Me, I don't have the money to improve my holdings right now, so spending prestige on man at arms regiments in order to go raiding with them kind of makes its own form of sense to
Yeah, I
me,
see
at
that. I
least.
see that.
Um, but yeah, there's no real reason not to do one or both of those things, as far as I tell. Other than that, it will take a while for your prestige and your funds to get back up, and that can take a minute. I
We got time.
think that my special archers are just straight up better
Just
than
like a
normal
strict
archers. They're
improvement.
just, yeah, they don't get the advantage in hills that normal archers get, but they get more advantage in forest and taiga, which is kind of what there's a lot of around here.
Mm.
So I think I'm just going to stick with those for my first one. Um, right. Even worse. And then who else do I want to? Maybe some pikemen. Counter some cavalry if I run into it. Do I have anything that counters heavy infantry? Kinda. I feel like I'm going to run into some heavy infantry. Should probably get some light footmen. And then.
How do I work on my holdings? Am I just not zoomed in enough to be seeing them?
Oh, yeah. So your bottom right, just above your map modes, will show you what you're going to be selecting if you click on
Gotcha.
the map in this map
Gotcha.
mode.
Gotcha.
So in
Gotcha.
the political map, you're selecting like realms.
Mm-hmm.
If you zoom in, it'll go to detail selecting holdings.
I
That's not the
see.
only way to navigate to that screen, but where you can mess with your holdings, but it's probably the most straightforward way. So yeah, now you can select individual holdings within a county on the map.
Understood.
Yeah. It is a big change from how it used to be, which one I'm still getting used to, but which I think is honestly not a bad one, face of it. I'm going to let my new men at arms reinforce, and then I'm going to go a raiding and hope that I get enough gold to make myself a duchy or two.
That's as good a plan as any.
Yeah. So I am finally, at long last, ready to unpause.
Give me just a moment. I'm going to select some
Yeah.
holding-y things here.
Sure.
So where am
Once
I?
you have selected a holding in a county, you can also use the little holding slots below the portrait in that pane on the bottom left to switch between holdings within a county.
Nice. Okay.
Since we're tribal, each county is going to have one holding. But if you start conquering feudal counties, you'll find castles and cities and temples in addition to the tribal holdings.
Got it.
So you click on the banner, you're going to get the person.
Right. But if I zoom in...
And if you click on the shield, you're going to get the little title summary.
Right. But then I could say, grab this one. And then if I wanted to, I could build a building there.
Well, If we were feudal, yes. At the moment, you're pretty much stuck with just the tribal holding. So if you click on that little Mott and Bailey,
Gotcha.
yeah, you get the little screen, and those
This guy
pluses
here.
at the bottom are where you
Gotcha.
can
Okay.
build things. And you get a little summary of each thing, how much it costs, how long it takes. And it looks like you can build 4 individual improvements in each tribal holding.
Gotcha.
And then you can upgrade the tribal hold itself.
I understand. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry if this is painful for you, that I am just
No.
a rank beginner, the rankest.
It took me a very long time to figure that stuff out in my single player game, so you are not really more than a day or two of having played this game behind me. So yeah, one of the other things to look at too is are you holding this place personally, or is a vassal of yours holding it? You can still build things in your vassal's holdings, but you get the benefits only indirectly in the taxes and in the levies that those vassals provide.
Okay, so I'm already too poor to construct a large city, for example.
Well, you also can't construct a large city because you can't construct a city.
It's a good reason.
You could upgrade this one because it's there already. Like you could go from a small city to a large city because it was there when you came in and took over. But you, as a tribal ruler, can't construct new holdings entirely. You can just improve the ones that are there.
Gotcha.
Once we are feudal, well, anything goes.
Well, then you know what? Let's start the clock. Let's do this thing.
All right. I want to try something.
Okay.
And that is see if spacebar works in multiplayer in this game, because it did not work in multiplayer in Crusader Kings II.
Okay, so, do the honors.
Ready, go. Nope, it doesn't work. You got to use the buttons. Which is okay. But yeah, we're going to go.
Oop, we both clicked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally speaking, you have 30 seconds of pause before like anybody can pause it, at least if it follows the same rules as the previous game.
So is this times 1 speed, because there are 5 speed settings? This is like the standard middle speed. Okay. Okay. So this is like 2 days every second, roughly ish.
Depends on how much it's got to process, honestly.
Okay.
I did not find a great court physician, which is perhaps unsurprising. I imagine that the practice of medicine is relatively unsophisticated, in this place and time. All right, how am I? Footmen are coming along at +10 per month. Too bad.
Oh, the peasant rabble has disbanded. I put my son in charge of the area that they're part of, and they really like him, so that's...
Boy, oh boy, my steward...
Or they're terrified of him. I can't actually tell the difference at this point. But the fact that he was the leader was the reason they disbanded.
Good.
I'll take it either way. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, what else should I be doing?
Establishments. So there's a couple of other things that I haven't actually gotten to a point in my single player game that I can really engage with. Like development is kind of a non-issue in tribal societies, and I haven't managed to feudalize yet because you have to get all of the tribal innovations before you can do that, and boy, it takes a minute to do that. So we'll be learning some things together, you and I.
I do love to learn. Just popping up, seeing what you're up to. I can only see so much, of course.
The fog of war is, kind of a thing. But hopefully, between my wife and 3 concubines, yep, there we go. My wife is pregnant. While I was talking about it.
There you go.
So hopefully, this, between this child and one that you may have on the way, eventually there will be a marriage that we can arrange.
Arrange is such an ugly word. Finagle.
Cause to happen.
So what is the logic of concubines here? Like that was a weird sentence, but like, so I 0 was an unseemly number.
Sure.
It looks like 3 is the maximum. Do you
Yes.
generally want, like, is any number between 1 and 3 equally propitious?
I do not know. I don't seem to have the same prestige factor on concubines that you do as a satru, however you pronounce that. I'm not entirely sure where that is going to be found
Mm-hmm.
in your like little religion breakdown there either. But I don't think I was losing or am gaining prestige based on concubines. So I do know that in the previous game, there wasn't a penalty for not having concubines, but you could get prestige for having more concubines.
Sure.
Basically, as I understand it, as again, this is bringing stuff in from the previous game still. I'm going to pause this real quick. But bringing things in from the previous game, if you have a child with your spouse, they have no particular modifiers one way or the other. If you have a child with a concubine, they are considered legitimate for all intents and purposes, but they'll have a minor diplomacy hit because they are the child of a concubine.
Got it.
Not a spouse. I guess we'll see how that works here.
Yeah, and I get a bit more piety on a monthly basis for having 2 rather than 1.
Okay, piety is a place for that to live.
It's a quirk of my religion, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I have. Okay. Sorry, I was responding to a notification. I tend to have trouble multitasking on those, so there will probably be a lot of times where I'm just kind of like, wait. Okay, now go. Yeah, my penalty has kicked in for having too much stuff above my domain limit, so. Ooh. I
see an army on the march. They don't seem to be marching to me. Can I?
Do they have torches above their little placard?
No.
Then they are not a raiding army, and if they are not hostile to you, they will not interact with your armies or your territory beyond contributing to the availability of supplies or lack thereof.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Excellent.
My only other question was, what else can I know about what they're up to? And I think the answer is not much. I know that they are neutral to me.
Yeah, if you cursor over their little banner, it will probably tell you a little bit about like their composition, where they're going when they'll get there,
who their chieftain is.
Yeah, there's some information to be had, but not an amazing amount. I have to name a son here.
Is this one of those things where you choose, like, name after someone from your wife's family, or...
Yeah, my options are name after myself, or after my father, after an ancestor, or just a good Finnish name, which is the one I tend to. But you can also type in a name if you want. I could name him Meat Puppet, but that tends not to be the way I roll. So I'm just randomizing some good Finnish names here until I find one that I like and have seen enough that I have a good idea of what a good Finnish name sounds like. So this kid is going to be Atso.
I like it.
Masonic Dealings. A guild of stonemasons has established itself in the chiefdom of Hietasari. Having dedicated craftsmen in my personal service could help the region flourish. Oh, it's a stewardship challenge. Well, I could lose more money than I have, but it's only an 18% chance, so probably fine. Okay. And then I was going to an education for my new son. Somebody who's good with swords. All right. And with that, I may unpause if you are good with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Nice. The help of some masons for free.
Implacable household. Impeccable household, excuse me. That's very different. My spouse is...
I would have believed either one,
yeah.
though, for what it's
No,
worth.
my spouse is being a good steward, so
Nice.
we gained a windfall of 150 prestige. That rules.
Especially as a tribal ruler, prestige is very useful.
Oh, yeah. Boy, progress sure is slow with converting the neighbors. I mean, it's not terrible, I suppose. We've been pausing a bit. It feels like it's been happening longer than it has.
I mean, everything in this game takes a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old son is described as a rapacious adventurer. I don't know what to make of that.
Good or bad could come of that, it seems to me.
Yeah, and, rapacious adventuring is what you make of it.
Yeah.
What's a good rating target, I wonder? Yeah, that was what I thought too. Oh. Vespian heritage.
Things are pretty sleepy in my my neck of the woods, I gotta say. I mean,
I've
famous
been
last
getting
words.
a couple events, but not amazing ones. Oh my god, my marshal is literally losing control in the county I sent him to restore control in.
It seems like, I mean, I'm new to the game, but precisely the opposite of what you were looking for.
Yeah, we were talking about roles earlier.
Sure.
Yeah.
My house has a curious saying. Our house words are, the spirit of the horse grants us faith.
Interesting.
It's a weird thing for the spirit of the horse to grant you, from my perspective. I'm an outsider.
Well, it feels like the sort of thing that's actually probably historical because the Rurikid household, it's fairly well documented for something this far back and in this part of the world. Mine is, with the hammer I seek might. Which is, on brand, I guess.
Sure, yeah. Oops, something happened.
Oh, hey, I can build something. Let's get a little bit of money. We could definitely use it. What's that? Alright, let's do some raiding.
So, when you want to go raid, do you raise all as raiders, or do you do something a little more subtle than that?
Well, at the moment, I'm definitely raising all as raiders because I don't have that many in all.
Noted.
All is not an amazing amount. But raiding armies, you typically just want them to move. So if I say move quickly, it makes it sound like I'm talking about map move, but like they need to raid quickly. Is the main thing because they're never really going to go toe to toe with siege breaking army.
Sure.
So, pause apologies, but I am letting us continue again now.
Certainly.
And sending my raiders over to antagonize the Duke of Finland, or the High Chief of Finland, as the case may be.
Where'd my raiders go? There they are.
And then just gonna save up all of my rating earnings to try and claim some duchies. Ooh, ransom. I took a prisoner. Can I ransom? Oh hell yeah!
Well, I have just begun Baby's first raid.
I do hope it goes well. There is the other thing about it is that you don't get the money that you gained from raiding until you get back to your territory.
Oh, so a lot can
Like,
a lot can go right or wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, your army is holding on to it. So, and they do have a maximum, although I've never really had that play in so far in my time with Crusader Kings III. I am very worried that the High Chief of Finland is going to just raid me back while I'm in his territory.
Found out what that movement I saw, by the way, what was about. There was a war next door, which is now resolved.
Ah.
My neighbor Chieftain Ama has won against Noizana Ingrija, a nobleman from Nien. The chiefdom of Vodi has changed hands. Vodi?
I am doing some great work with some ransoms here. I'm
Nice.
almost to Duchy number 1.
Damn son.
To be followed up in the 1990s with Mambo number 5. I will not apologize, even though I should.
Okay, let's see. The settlement of Nezdovo, is that how you say it? An important stronghold in greater Nezdovo, has fallen to my raiders. We have them on the run with vast tracts of land, and many of the quivering subjects and shining treasures of Chieftain Dragon to choose from. The troops stand ready, awaiting my command to give them direction. So, bring me bounteous plunder, or we've taken enough already.
I have not gotten that event.
So, if I go for the bounteous plunder,
Yes.
I gain 30 gold and 75 prestige, but this settlement is basically no good to anybody for 20 years.
Well, do you want to take it sometime in the next 20 years, I guess, is the operative question.
Yeah. I mean, let's go for some bounteous plunder. I feel like they'll get the message besides. So does my raiding party then, do they come home automatically, or do I have to command them back to...
Until you give them a move order back into your territory, they will stay out. You can also see how much wealth can be raided from any given territory at any given time, like by clicking on it on the holding. It'll tell you.
Okay, so this is interesting, because this is quite different from when we go feudal. There's
right.
a total difference between raiding. Like I have not declared a war. I'm just kind of...
Correct.
Yeah.
Your armies and the armies of somebody who is raiding you or who you are raiding will be hostile to each other for about 6 months, but no territory will change hands.
Interesting.
All right, I'm going to create my Duchy of Hoyanma, I think is probably how you'd say it. Maybe. We'll find out sooner or later.
I cannot express to you how much more confidence I have in your pronunciations here than mine.
That is misplaced.
More is a relative word, I hasten to point out.
Fair enough. Another champion. Oh, I can get another men at arms regiment. Man, everything's coming up. What the hell's my name? Everything's coming up Kaleva. Famous last words, I think.
I think I... Let's see.
Yeah, I probably could use some horsemen to counter some archers, couldn't I? Alright. So let me check out my succession before I unpause here real quick, because I think now... Oof. Yeah, I think they're going to be their own realms. I need to be a king before I can hang on to all of this stuff. Well, I am getting closer to being able to get my penalties down here. So one of the things that I put a big priority on, and I'll go ahead and unpause while I talk about this, is keeping my home duchy like together under my control, because it makes a really big independent power base after a long enough, sort of period of development. And that can be very hard to see to early on, especially as a tribal ruler. But I do find that makes for an interesting, dynamic challenge.
I'm getting a tutorial about doctrines and religion, by the way, and more importantly, bit of news: my High Chiefess is pregnant.
Oh, congratulations! Hopefully, it's a girl, so that she can be betrothed to one of my folks. Hey, one of my concubines is pregnant.
Interesting.
This is the one who is sadistic, zealous, and content. Her name is probably Taina, maybe? I don't want it to just be 10, so let me go with Taina. Alright.
So, war is a tenet of my religion.
Oh, fascinating.
Now, I don't know if, does raiding not scratch that itch? You know what I mean?
Good question. I don't know what the text for it is, though I can probably find out by going to you and clicking on Asatru. So the longer you are at peace, the more of an opinion penalty you will incur among your vassals and courtiers.
Very interesting.
So raiding, I do not believe, scratches that itch. Thing. Oh, I think I'm about to get raided. Yep, I'm getting raided.
My steward
and I got an event at the same time, so I'm gonna
yeah, by all means. My steward, by the way, performed a useless census. that is a problem I just had to deal with.
Let's see. Do not justice. Is this my heir? This is my heir.
I got a question for you when you're back in the thick of it.
Sure. 1 second. Gonna gain some stress to educate my kid properly, and then figure out where I can raise some troops to drive off these. I may not be able to drive off these raiders. Oh boy, that's a problem.
So there's no way for me to come to your aid at the moment?
I do not believe so.
Okay.
Besides which, it would be kind of a trek. I think they'd be gone by the time you got here.
Fair enough.
Fortunate. So what was your question?
Is there a reason to disband my raiding party, my raiding army, if I'm not currently raiding? Does it increase their satisfaction, keep the troops fresh, whatever, or do I may as well keep them around?
I believe having raised troops costs you money and possibly prestige, which you can actually find out if you hover over your money and or prestige.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Yep, I see it.
Get a little breakdown.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how best to.
Quite all right.
How best to handle this incursion, this outrage.
Most certainly. No, and I appreciate that you're obviously folks can sort of see what I'm doing visually, but not you. So the more you speak on it, the better from my perspective.
You probably just heard my dog.
I did.
That was Violet. Came up and let me know that it is
getting on dinner time.
Until her dinner time. Yeah, just in case I had forgotten that it was 20 minutes until her dinner time. I had not, but I'll never convince her of that. Okay, I think I'm ready to unpause. Here goes. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of spot pausing while I maneuver. It's probably not especially fun for the viewers at home, but
it's all good.
Keeps me from being rated. So Hopefully it does anyway. I should win that fight. We'll see. I'm pausing.
Oh. Oh, I had twin boys.
Ah, congratulations. Although that does leave us still at loose ends as far as marriage alliances.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I maimed Chieftain Yalo. That's good, presumably. I do like if you zoom in far enough, you can actually see yourself like knocking chips out of their shield in your little army view. Some raiders. Give them a taste of their own medicine.
All right, I'm going to name one in a religious tradition, and I'll name one after Ingrid's father. So we
had another son, so I'm spoiled for sons. I mean, this is terrible because Confederate partition means they each get part of my stuff.
Sure.
So, all right, you're gonna be Veli. It's also terrible because we still can't get a marriage alliance going. But
oh geez, one of the boys is sickly.
Yeah, my most recent kid is also sickly. Just a bad astrological sign or something. Sorry, I was going to educate son. You don't have to pick a guardian or an educator for a kid until they're like 6, but I tend to try and do it when they're born just to keep my housekeeping to a minimum. All right, on pausing and go in raiding. Violet, I know, but it's not dinner time.
Are you just educating your children yourself?
As many as I can, because the oldest ones are going to be the ones that inherit the majority of the stuff, as well as being my next character. And you get a little bit more control over what happens if you educate them yourself.
Noted.
The younger ones, once I am out of education juice myself, kind of get to...
Sure.
Fend for themselves.
You recommend that I raid, do you? I mean, sure. I mean, twist my arm.
I mean, I'm trying to raid to get to an amount of money that will allow me to make this second duchy and maybe eventually crown myself king. I am 28 now and in fine health. So I don't have forever.
I started considerably older than you did, I think. I think I was in my mid to late 30s when this started.
You're certainly already an accomplished Jarl by the time you start as Rurik. Is there a reason I'm not actually raiding this? It says there's loot, but... I do not know. I don't know what's going on, so I'm just going to take my guys and go home, I guess. Where would you tell me to raid? Yeah, no, I raided there. There's no money. Culture clash.
So should I basically be creating whatever titles I can create? Rule of thumb?
Well, if you're getting an option to create titles, they're going to be ducal level titles, king level titles, or emperor level titles. And what those do is they give you de jure control over an area. The problem is if you create ducal level titles beyond the 2 that you can hold without penalty yourself, then you end up having to give them away. So if you don't have a king level title, that person becomes independent, right? Because now you're peers. But, if you've got vassals who you don't have de jure claims on, they are also going to chafe under that yoke of, hey, you're not really my ruler, you just beat me up. I am going to, if you don't object, get up to feed the dog and refresh my drink since I've been doing a lot of talking. You can maybe entertain our viewers with a little bit of a tour of the interface of what you're doing. But I will try to be quick.
Yeah, no problem at all.
As soon as I'm.
So yeah, this kind of game is not my bread and butter. I enjoy these whenever I play them. I feel like what usually happens to me is I get to a level of abstraction where a lot of the stuff that should be rich strategy becomes functionally close to random, and that's not on the game, that's on me, right? That's my inability to to grok everything happening. Not inability, just lack of familiarity and just the sheer number of things happening. I mean, like learning what to pay attention to and how to react to it quickly, and what not to pay as much attention to, or what doesn't need to be reacted to as quickly. That's the game. Therein lies the game. So let's see, we're raiding over here. Plenty of trouble back home because my vassals are becoming powerful and, just as Adam was saying, chafing under my my power. And I mean, they don't owe me fealty per se because we're not feudal as such. So I probably want to up this authority, right? It doesn't look like there's a cost beyond some prestige, so sure. I mean, that's that's the political capital. Like, what is it for if not to be spent on stuff like that? Now, one of the things in these games is when you do something like that, when you change tribal law, you can't do so again for a while. And notice as well, I think that's not just because of that, the cooldown or whatever, but as I start doing this more kind of heavy-handed stuff that allows me not just to imprison people, but also to revoke titles, this is going to make my direct vassals like me a bit less. But it's also going to obviously give me more power, so that's the kind of the risk-reward, the push-pull of moving us toward a more organized or unified state thing. That wasn't eloquently said, but you get what I mean. So it looks like I'm going to win this battle. Pretty handily, actually.
It would seem so.
Welcome back.
You have a, frankly, superhuman level of prowess, which is the sort of combat skill for your character. You're leading that army personally. That little portrait on the left there tells you that you're there. And the little icon with the armored helmets, that number 38 under it is probably 10 higher than the highest I've seen in my single-player game over in Scotland.
Jeez.
Yeah. It is, yeah. Sorry, I'm dealing with an event here.
You're all good? My insufficient census is no longer an issue. That's nice.
That is nice.
We've also passed limited tribal authority. I'm basically at level 2 now, so that's good.
Yeah. I should probably do that soon, too.
In my case, it didn't even cost me any opinion from anybody. It was just, just spend the prestige. Yeah, I'm good to go if you are.
That's very much seems to be the way that that mechanic is working with this particular game in
it looks like at the higher levels there's still like your direct vassals chafe, which makes all the sense in the world.
Sure. Yeah, but tribal authority getting raised within a lifetime as far as it can go is not a bad thing. Okay, I think I'm ready here. I don't know why this thing is telling me to raid a territory that doesn't have any money to actually get from it, so I'm going to put my armies down as soon as they get back, and just try and conserve until I have the 125 that I need. I have unpaused.
Yeah, I see things happening. Thank you for calling it out, though.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about it, not always. Let's disband. I feel like I'd have quite an impressive number of troops if I could get back down under my domain, because at the moment, levies and taxes are minus 60%. But I can't really do anything until I have that other duchy, and I can't really raid because my neighbors are all poor because they've raided each other. Myself included, really.
Oh, geez. I captured the chieftain's daughter during that raid.
Ah.
Let me pause here and see what that means for my life.
By all means.
I also have a point to spend, which I will spend to gain the title Gallant. So it's not just a title, it's a trait. So martial +2, prowess +4, monthly prestige +20%. Yeah, that seems pretty good, pretty worth it. For a point that I don't know what I'm going to do with otherwise. Okay.
Yeah, no, those traits at the bottom are all pretty good. And which tree you start out in, obviously, we started with some skills in a tree already, these characters. But when you're starting fresh, like which tree you start out in is largely going to be based on what skill, which of those traits you end up at the bottom.
Sure. So I do want to point out this 3-year-old girl that we captured in the raiding party is listed as a gambler as her personality trait. Now I'm assuming that doesn't literally mean she partakes in games of chance. It's a disposition, right?
That would be a safe assumption, I think. My wife actually is an irrational gambler. High Chiefess. I did not actually look at her name before. It's Titti. So we're gonna go with something maybe like Tita, just to keep it from sounding like I'm making a puerile joke.
Sure. So what? So this is a mechanical question too. It occurs to me. What is the deal with prisoners? Do you ransom them? Do you what do you do?
Can.
Okay.
So you can find them under your court tab. There's a little prisoners.
Okay.
Your court screen has a prisoners tab on it. And,
oh yeah, there you go.
You can interact with them in a number of ways there. Not everybody has a ransom that they will that the person who would ransom them would actually pay, but you kind of get your options.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can also ransom somebody in return for a hook, which is this game's vocabulary for having some lever that you can use on someone. So hey, I released you, you owe me. There are strong hooks and weak hooks. The most entertaining one that I got by far in my single player game was I discovered that one of my vassals was a cannibal.
Oh God.
Which I then used to make her vote for my heir in our Tanistry succession elections. So she just kept right on eating people, and I just was like, yeah, cool, just vote for me.
So let's see. So I can get 10 gold or a weak hook. I feel like a weak hook is probably a little harder to come by.
But, and here's the thing, they do expire, and a 3-year-old is not going to be able to do much for you.
So I think the hook would actually be the chieftain whose daughter she is.
That could be more helpful, but I don't know if he's not your vassal. I don't know how much good it's going to do. You might be able to offer him vassalization and strong arm him with a strong hook, but with a weak hook, I really don't know. I haven't explored using hooks on tribal neighbors very much.
Okay.
The other thing is to look at how much money you're making in a month. I don't know how much it is, but for me, I'm making 1.5 gold per month, so 10 is actually
10 ain't
a
nothing.
dramatic acceleration.
Yeah. Okay, fair point. I'll just go for the money in this case. The girl gains a higher opinion of me, though understandably not so high as if I had just let her go. Okay. I'm good when you are.
I'm pausing. I'm looking around in my local area and just dreading having to pronounce some of these. Nyland, I'm pretty confident in. But Karasyoha, there are 3 accent marks, one of which is on an S. Yeah, I have no idea.
It's not ideal.
Would that there was somewhere I could reasonably expect to get money from raiding. That everybody raided each other I think I'm the only unscathed person in all of Finland.
That's a good place to be in some ways, and I can see how it's frustrating in others.
I just need the money, man. But once I have the money and I can give out these things, I should make money somewhat faster, and then I should also to start conquering toward a kingdom. Oh, Upland is doing fairly well.
So I have some unpressed claims,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I need to go ahead and go to war, or else people are going to think I am impious, weak, all of the above.
Sure.
So, away we go.
Yeah. Stewardship work, you say? Oh dang! That doubling of my levy reinforcement rate is real tempting. With that. So I have a pretty decent steward as these things go. At least this point in the game. But every event that I've gotten based on his efforts has just been, oops, your steward let bandits in.
It seems like you may want to bring that up at his annual review.
I remember hearing now about maybe Hitman 2, the newer one, mission wherein you can overhear some people talking about this ugly sweater this guy always wears, and then you can impersonate him and go into a meeting with the person you're trying to assassinate, where he's letting quote unquote you go because she hates the sweater.
I am pausing, by the way.
Yeah.
Nothing in this world is certain, especially in times of war. The Haumgarther claim.
Holmgarther.
Thank you, Holmgarther claim on the chiefdom of Narva has been no different. As this conflict is no longer against the same Hyde chieftain, it might be wise to reevaluate the situation.
So that sounds like he either got replaced or died.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna pursue the war. Okay. So does it when we're in co-op as we are, does the game not auto pause during those kind of like important moments? Okay.
That's part of the reason I usually play at speed 4 and then crank it down to 3 for like war. But I tend to leave it on 3 for multiplayer stuff, just so that if there is a reasonably straightforward event, I can handle it without pausing. In this case, haven't seen this one before, and was talking when it came up, so I went ahead and paused so I could handle it. My heir can get trait diligent.
Oh, I see. The person who won that war controls way more than just this area. That's why I was saying it was wise to reevaluate, which I did not.
Well, what's your relative strength like? You should be able to see his troop count on his character sheet. And you've got, 2,000-ish?
Thereabouts, yeah.
I am good to unpause if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
I had to read like a bunch of tooltips to figure out which of these traits I wanted my heir to get. Man, being able to raid across the sea would actually be really useful, because I could raid Sweden and raid a fair amount their heartland. unfortunately, before I can do that, I have to get the innovation longships, which is not going to be ready for another 545 years.
That's a minute.
Yeah. And presumably that number is going to get smaller as I get exposure and all that good stuff. But yeah, going to be a minute. Oh, yay. Can maybe read again. I guess we'll find out. One of the things that playing in Britannia does, the geography is much more compact there.
Mm-hmm.
And so you move seemingly more quickly. I mean, you cover the same amount of space,
Sure.
about the same amount of time, but move orders take less time to actually enact because everything is kind of close together.
Oh, geez. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause. So we seem to have a
Yep.
tax revolt on our hands.
Well, my chancellor died, so I also needed to take a breather.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go to war with these peasants, I guess. So I'm now fighting 2 wars, which is not the smartest thing I've ever done in my life, but...
Well, this is one of those things where if we had been able to betroth our kids at this point, I could definitely like run some kids over to help you out.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, having just the one experience playing as Rurik in Crusader Kings II, you can probably handle it. Especially if you just like stomp the peasant revolt and then get back to your war. It lengthens the main war, but get rid of the peasant revolt, so much the better.
Indeed.
Also, I don't know if you can hear all of the nonsense the dogs are doing in the other room, but
a bit, but no worries.
They're dogs. Do wish that if we were allied, we would also share like sight,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be useful. How many innovations does Norse culture have?
At the tribal level, or just like...
Yeah, you are 7. I am at like I think 5, so I'm kind of trailing behind you a little bit there. I think.
Yeah, we're at 7 out of 19. Yeah.
I'm at 5. Interesting. I guess you have 2 special ones too. Just the one special one.
Which one is the special
one? Cultural and regional down at the bottom. Sorry about that.
It's all good. Longships.
Yeah, so I can get longships, and I already have one that doesn't show up on yours, I don't think, which is my special bow boys, the forest warden.
Gotcha.
Metsanvartia. Metsanvartia? Something. It's going to be a minute before I get out of the tribal stage, because you have to get all of your available tribal innovations before you feudal, or
Got it.
you have to have a feudal liege lord.
All right. Well, I'm ready when you are.
All right, there goes. Winning me a battle over here, MBD.
Grats. A secret
The
exposed.
slaughter at Kutioki.
My steward chieftain Cairo has brought forward undeniable evidence that Helena was fathered by none other than him. I wonder, did Helena know about her true heritage? Or is this as much news to her as it is to me? Will this revelation rather become a blessing or a curse?
Man, now that's a drama I would be interested in, is the 9th century Holmgartherian revolution based on this lurid secret parentage. Sign me up for 2 seasons.
Yeah, really. All right, so what happens here? Oh, this is an unrelated shameful truth. My acquaintance Ruth has copulated with my steward, chieftain Cairo. Cairo is just, my god. Cairo is the source of a lot of issues.
Seems to be.
Poor chieftainess Ali Akalina of Valdai. Okay, so what can I do here? So if I punish this is considered an act of tyranny. I mean, the people involved lose opinion of me. That's pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Well, so tyranny often also means that like everybody in court loses that, like all your vassals and all your courtiers.
Gotcha.
I can't read it well enough on my dumb resolution.
Well, basically, I can let it slide, and the 2 of them will gain opinion of me. I lose 1 level of devotion. Or I can not let it slide, imprison Cairo, which I have also a personal reason to potentially want to do.
Yeah, right.
Cairo's whole family becomes not my biggest fan, which
so yeah, this is an act of tyranny causing your subjects to lose 20 opinion. So that's everybody that you rule over would lose that 20 opinion.
Tough stuff.
Yeah, it's weird that not doing anything costs you devotion, but doing something costs you tyranny. I guess that's
it's also weird that like I have fair reason, so no one will think me a tyrant, but it is an act of tyranny.
Oh, well, when did I see that? Go back up. I think that's going to be for imprisoning Cairo.
Oh, I see. Got it. So imprisoning. Also, and I can't do one but not the other.
Right. Interesting. I don't really have advice on this, honestly.
We're gonna go with the tyrannical option. This is already going off the rails. Let's just go with it. All right, unpause.
Get into character.
Yeah. Got to put down this peasant revolt real quick. All right, ready?
I'm ready as I'm ever gonna be. Which I could maybe wish was readier, but
we all wish things. I really need to learn to pay attention to the chat while we're playing this game. I've been completely neglecting it. My apologies if anybody has been saying brilliant stuff and I've been messing it.
As far as I can tell, it is just Joanne having said I'm hacked into the mainframe back when we were trying to get the game like joined.
Okay. Good. So,
as far as I can tell.
Yeah, we are simulcasting a couple of different places, so.
That is true. I'm not watching Twitch at the moment.
Call we they simulcasts? I don't know.
Omni streaming.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
Patent pending. Now wait, why am I doing worse in the war now? I don't want to be.
Did they take some of your territory back?
Maybe? Yeah, they must have done. So the peasants like fell back and disappeared, I think.
Maybe. Oh, I'm getting raided. Oh no. My army is very far away. There is very little I can do about this.
The worm has turned.
What's that tweet? You know, me sowing. Ha 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 ha. Me reaping. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. I do appear to have more troops than my neighbors, which is nice. But I'm also getting, my north is getting just the bejesus raided out of it as my army heads south to raid others. My council is just getting the worst rolls, and I can't really put together why it is so very, very bad.
My son has gotten over his childhood illness, so that's, you know, finally some good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is me not knowing this game that well. I am losing ground in this war. Oh, I see why. They invaded, and okay, that's a reasonable reason.
Yeah.
Let's get the hell over there.
You can bring up that little summary at any given time, and the tooltips will tell you precisely where that war score comes from.
Right.
Whether that is helpful information or not is just depends on what you're looking for.
Sure.
I am doing my best to make sure that my most talented folks are on my council while I got it paused here. The problem is that I don't appear to have a ton of talent in my realm. Just generally, so I'm gonna make the best of it. It helps. Right. Hopefully my rolls will get a little bit better and I'll stop having catastrophic blunders every couple of months from my council.
We live in hope.
So generally speaking, if you're going to enforce your demands, you have to have 100% war score.
Oh, good to know.
Sometimes somebody will offer to surrender earlier than that, but yeah. You also appear to be missing a council person, and there's something about a marriage at the top there.
Oh, you're right. Well, the marriage thing is that I still have my heir is unmarried, which we knew. Empty council position. That is new information, so that's a solvable problem.
I'm gonna leave it paused for you for a second.
Thanks for that. Someone who likes me for a change would sure be nice. Okay. I can do a lifestyle perk. Actually, so I've done all I can here, right? I kind of should change trees.
Yeah, if you've gotten all the way to the bottom, then yeah, you go to a different tree in the same one, or you change your focus and go to a different tree in a different skill.
Gotcha.
One or t'other. Did you assign a guy to steward who has 0 stewardship?
I may have done that. That's probably something I should go ahead and fix.
I'm watching the stream on a delay here, so...
No, you're making a good point. This is getting away from me a little bit.
There's a lot to think about.
There is. Okay, so Anders, you're out. Let's...
Get gone.
Get thee gone.
Ooh,
16
dang.
seems a lot better than 0. Well, okay, so I screwed up with Anders, but what are you gonna do?
As long as he doesn't, like, hold territory, his opinion of you doesn't matter super a lot.
That's fair. All right, I need to wrap this session on the soon-ish side, so let's see if we can come to some kind of reasonable quasi-conclusion in this war.
All right. Well, I am arranging for my heir to marry a genius who is, like, 10 years older than he is.
Nice.
But
yeah, I should probably get my heir a spouse. We should probably put off our joining of our houses.
Well, I mean, I have other kids, right? Like,
right.
If we can just get one daughter on either side in the mix, we can still be allies, whether it's the heir or not.
That's a good point.
But Yeah. Um, the good news is that other than just kind of remembering where we were, the next time that you feel you can devote some time to this, we should be able to just kind of get in and get going. And I will happily stick with a co-op Crusader Kings run for quite a long time.
Sounds good to me.
My friend with whom I usually play this can attest. Interesting. Sorry, I mutter sometimes.
You mutter as much as you please. It's your God given right.
I like the idea of somebody claiming that God specifically gave them the right to mutter. That's just very amusing. Though it maybe shouldn't. Did you get an heir arranged there, or a wife arranged there rather?
I did. Yeah, I also found a genius, so that was a nice
Oh,
symmetry at least.
it's probably the same person. So we'll see who they
Oh, that's interesting.
decide to say yes to. Um, but yeah, I'm good to unpause if you are.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. My rating act together here. Irrigation. Sorry, I gotta read this. There are fair stretches of unsettled land in the chiefdom of Pietasari, often blamed on unsuitable terrain. My steward has suggested that an irrigation project might make it arable and therefore thereby valuable. Of course, it costs money.
So I had my troops away from home, and a siege was lost very definitively, and one of my sons was captured. So that didn't go so hot.
No, that sounds bad. Addition soil network. Good to unpause?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Yeah, my best hopes for the recovery of your son.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Oh, Sorkver is a genius. I hope he's your heir. Thanks.
Oh Jesus, they got my wife too, and she is pregnant.
Oh no, that's
This war that I started unprovoked and for no good reason is not going well for me.
Oh no. Well, I am accumulating stress, but I may also get some irrigation done. So, you know. The good news is that if you manage to take the fortification where they're being held, you should be able to free them.
Right.
But I do know that there's some travel to be done there. Unpausing?
Yep.
Yeah, just try to call it out, just in case. Waiting to hear back on that marriage proposal.
I gotta know.
Interesting. I have not gotten any word. Oops. Boy, everything's been kind of cleaned out, hasn't it? Getting raided. My glory is known fairly widely. That's good. I like glory. Well, I got cost some prestige by being outfield here. I'm pausing.
Yep.
Hey, that's not bad. Got a new lifestyle perk. I have several new lifestyle perks, actually. Nice.
Well, my wife just gave birth in prison.
Well, I hope she's okay.
Was a daughter, though.
Hey,
So,
you interested in a betrothal?
I'm sure. There's a lot of asterisks on the future of my family at the moment, but
You know, getting an alliance in place actually removes a couple of those asterisks.
that's
So,
fair point.
give me just a second.
Yeah.
Let's see. Newborns are going to be down at the bottom here. Smemel. What's her name?
Asa, A-S-A.
Asa. She hasn't shown up in the little thingy yet. You may need to unpause. You good to do that?
Yeah, that's fine. She's a planner by nature. She is 0 old, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a limit to, like the idea of trying to be like, yeah, well, she's 2 days old, and, yeah.
And that is the only fact about her.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Tina is pregnant again. Let's see. My son. Interesting. I don't appear to be able to arrange a betrothal.
Oh, interestingly, the tooltip calls her Saga. But then if I hover over it, her name is Asa.
Interesting. Sounds like a good. Sounds like a variable that didn't quite catch up with itself.
Yep.
And then I can finally create this other. Oh boy, that was a cascading effect. Top Bunny comes of age. He's okay. Oh, no, what I meant to do. Sorry.
It's quite all right.
It's time to play type around the microphone. Well, I don't know what happened to that genius we both proposed to. She's gone.
Too smart for marriage.
Not even a warm spot where she was. But maybe find a decent replacement. Someone who's quick or intelligent. Some of those lines. She's old, but works. And this duchy. Gimme. Yay. that. Sorry, I'm going to be paused for another moment here because I need to start giving out some of these titles now that I'm...
Quite all right. I'm hiring some mercenaries because I'm in real trouble otherwise.
Duke. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I will work on that betrothal again in just a moment. Let's give some beer to somebody who's decent at it and likes me. Cool. My first vassal. They grow up so fast. And then this one away. Hang on to Kitka for now. Now, Sigvara. This is me deciding how I'm going to pronounce these things. Go. He's more to them though, so I'm not going to give it him. Yay. I'm not insanely over my domain limit. My income tripled.
Very nice.
Although I do now have a powerful vassal who wants a spot on my council, and he is a reasonably good steward, so I think I can make that happen. There we go. Okay. Woo.
Woo. Shall we?
And, was going to look at that.
Oh, the betrothal, yeah.
Trying to get a betrothal going.
I could probably do it from my side, too.
Or at least, yeah, I mean, we can see. So arrange betrothal. Asa. No, there's a 35-year-old Asa. I don't think that's probably her.
Try searching Saga. It might think that's her. That was like her default name.
No, there's a 40-year-old Saga. But I don't think that's her.
Maybe it's because she's in prison?
That actually is possibly a real... Well, no, I can't offer guardianship because she's in prison, but I can't arrange betrothal either. I can click on Udis, hit arrange marriage, but there aren't a lot of people that I can choose for that. In fact, there's just one that I can choose for that.
The raid is going well, so she'll hopefully be free very shortly, like a couple of months.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's let that happen. On pause.
Siege, I should say, not raid.
I knew what you meant, but yes, those are both things.
Meaningful differences, yeah.
All right, you got a spouse. That's good. Let's see what a mess my succession is going to be now. Yeah, I would keep one duchy and one county. Boy, oh boy. I need a kingdom. I keep having these decent odds at stewardship challenges and still failing the rolls.
So, one of my One of my concubines seems to have some kind of STI.
Oops.
So that's not great.
No.
I mean, I probably
Think
need to go ahead and stop sleeping with her at the risk of her not liking me.
Yeah. Concubines can be set aside without penalty, or at least in the last game they could. My son Valto has been born, and the succession gets ever more complicated. Yeah, child of concubine gives them diplomacy -1.
Gotcha. All right, peasant uprising is going well at least.
Excellent.
Can enforce my demands.
Just get that all the way off the table, as it were.
All right, the war has turned in my favor. The siege.
Good to hear.
Is the siege over? Could we pause for a sec? I gotta see what's next in this
sure.
war. Okay, so
It's less important for me to know when we are pausing than it is for me to know when we're unpausing.
fair enough.
Presumably the same is true for you.
So if I successfully besiege the city,
Mm-hmm.
then presumably the people imprisoned there would be freed?
Presumably.
This doesn't seem to be what happened, though.
Well, that is how prisoners are taken. So,
Yeah. It might be that she's stuck until the war is over? Is that the deal?
it could be. It could be that. Well, like I saw when you were clicking around on her, who like this is she's imprisoned by.
Mm-hmm.
But the other option is to try and ransom.
Yeah, he won't accept while the war is on. Yeah.
I figured. Alas.
Well, I guess the question then is, how do I win this war?
Well, if you can pull up your war score, I can try to give you my reasonably experienced amateur opinion.
Sure. Not this screen, though. Just like the hover over is actually a little more information rich. That text might be too tiny for you, though.
Kind of waiting for it to catch up on the screen that I can actually see. Okay, so the hover over, your air captured is going to be something you can't do too much about. Having Novgorod, controlling the war target, that will go up incrementally over time. Winning battles would help, and if you can hover over the occupation one again. Okay, there we go. Having Novgorod be controlled by the enemy is not helping you, but occupying the territory that you are presumably trying to take is especially helpful.
Yeah.
And any other territory you can occupy helps and keeps them from like reinforcing their levy and stuff while you have control over it. The biggest single chunk you could get is probably taking back Novgorod from their occupation in the short term. And then just sieging Vodi would be, another probably 10 to 20.
So how do I take back Novgorod?
Just move back onto it with your army.
Oh,
you just have to siege it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They've occupied your fortress.
So here?
Once again, here is...
Sure. So Novgorod has Bunch of
Yeah, it's the
baronies
one
in
with
it.
your
With my banner.
rally point over it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that would be my first move, and then just jump back to Vodi because it's going to be harder for them to get to Novgorod through your siege at Vodi. You'll be able to see them coming and intercept them if they want to get back to it, and then you'll have supply lines going out to Viipuri if you need to. And like I said, the longer that you have Narva in your possession, the higher that'll climb.
Okay. Let's do this thing.
Right. The landscape of northern Finland is very difficult to intuit. I am 10 kinds of idiot. I forgot to make my raiding army a raiding army before I moved it into enemy territory.
Oops.
Just, we're going for a walk, guys. Got another son. Vesa, in this case. The way that babies look in this game is very funny to me.
It's kind of that, yeah, it's like the way Jesus looks in a lot of medieval paintings, where,
Yeah.
like, they're kind of tiny adults. I'm going to pause
That
here.
might be kind of intentional,
Yeah.
like, you know, on the part of the designers, but it's still very funny. You have some really high quality armies, my dude. I'm assuming you have good commanders.
I do. I'm really not good at anything but making war, but I'm luckily good at that, which is...
It can take you a long way.
Yeah.
Especially at this stage.
Pausing again.
You're good. As much as you need to.
Talk to me about war score. All right, so we're working on Novgorod. Yeah, I guess just hold the line for a bit. What is this friendly capital that's occupied? Oh, I see. We're just still working on that.
Looks like they're going to try to siege back Narva, so...
Send someone there, too.
Well, you can also check and see how long it's going to take them versus how long it's going to take this troops you have stationed in... Oh, what's that just to the Vodi?
Here.
If you're going to finish your siege in Vodi enough ahead of them finishing their re-siege of Narva, you can always finish that up and then head over.
So that's 2 months.
Presuming that you can win, which I think you can. You're both very high-quality armies, and you're almost double their size.
6 months. Okay, yeah, so I got to keep an eye on that, but I should be able to walk in, chew gum. Unpausing.
Yep. Yeah, the strategy and tactics of war have gotten more sophisticated in this game, and I don't really grok all of it yet, because it was very blunt in Crusader Kings II.
I vaguely recall this. So, sorry, I just unpaused, but I
You're
have
good.
taken this back, yeah? Or no?
Where?
My capital. Sorry, you're not seeing what I'm seeing as I'm seeing
well, Homegarther, I read it has 3 months left on your siege back.
it. I see.
If you select the territory itself, you get that little window
Understood.
that gives you the siege information.
Got it.
And there's a lot of information that you can usefully use there, but there's not a lot that you can do to actually affect a particular siege once it has started.
Right.
But if you sent onagers or mangonels or trebuchets or something, obviously it would go faster. But we don't have that yet because we're scary Northmen.
True enough.
Well, now I have to pause because I inherited in one of the chiefdoms that I gave out from the person I gave it out to. He evidently lost and thus died.
Woof.
So give it back to somebody else.
The war is definitely going my way.
Are any of these people Finnish? My God. Sorry. The priorities you get from video game ass sentences.
Yep. Well, I'm having a really good time, by the way.
Yeah. No, I really like having the sort of running conversation and just sort of building toward a meta goal with a friend, even if we aren't quite allies yet. Maybe once our respective children are more than infants, we can set them up.
Yeah. Well, I think I gotta free my daughter before we can make it official.
Probably. But I feel like you're on the way there.
Yeah, I think so.
So, good done pause?
Yeah.
Gone. I took a prisoner in a siege. Can I ransom them?
Got a valuable hostage.
Nice. That'll help your war score. That little thing is one.
Oh, there we go. Let me actually go ahead and pause here because I captured my actual rival.
Nice.
So I can now enforce the demands.
If you have them, you can.
He was leading the army to take Narva back. So.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah. So I learned the hard way today that once you have them, you can either enforce your demands, or I think you have maybe like a year or less before they just capitulate from being imprisoned, and you end the war anyway. I was trying to greedily take more territory from Sweden while I had their king in jail earlier in my game as Alba, and didn't work out like I wanted it to. Also, I'm upset because Uppland, who is much stronger than me, has now started taking over Finland, and that's my turf, and they can't do that. So we'll need to probably ally up and kick Sweden in the teeth sometime in the future of this game.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So maybe it's just because we're still paused, but it still says my wife is the prisoner of the guy I just imprisoned. So I'm thinking we just need to let that resolve. Is that how that works?
I think so. You should get a little notification when it says like that she's.
It says my son is released.
Maybe you can ransom him back. Maybe you can ransom her back now that you're not at war.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't have a good enough sixth sense yet for what to expect from sort of those cascading dependencies in this game just yet.
What do you mean I don't have a hook? I literally just defeated him in a war.
Yeah, but he gave you territory, so
that's
you don't
true.
have
That's
a
true.
hook.
Oh, I see. So he could have a weak hook against me for releasing her. He will not accept that, actually. Okay. He will accept 50 gold, though.
Would you do it for a Scooby snack?
Let's unpause for a second to see if that... Yeah, no, I guess he's... that. Like, those were not... Like, I couldn't... like negotiate the terms of his surrender, right? So
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just.
Well, I think if it was affecting war score, that probably meant that he had to go free. But since your wife wasn't affecting war score, and you're like your daughter, war score.
Oh, but I think only my son was affecting war score.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they got to hang on to the other ones. But hopefully you can ransom them back.
Yeah, it'll take a chunk out of my money, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully once your war is over, you'll go back to making money and a reasonable clip.
Oh, geez, he's considering one proposal at a time. Okay, well, we got to let time move forward then. Also, there's a new war.
That do happen now. Reading up at the top of the world.
Gonna pause here. We got Chieftain Helgi and Chieftain Karu are discussing our strategy for the ongoing war. Helgi eagerly points out all the prime targets we should immediately send raiding parties to pillage, while Karu explains how we need to watch what our foes do and respond accordingly. It is my right to decide our ultimate course of action. Oh, because I have
Were
such
you
a high
talking
martial score, I can actually do both. I can just say, you're both right. You go pillage, you hold down the homestead.
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Wild.
Which one do we do? Yes. Okay, so Asa is safely home, so you should be able to get that betrothal going.
We're gonna try. How old is she now?
You ask good questions. How long did that war go on? Asa is now a year old. Can you not betroth them until they're a bit older?
Well, I don't know. I was just trying to find my kid who was in the closest age
Gotcha.
range. Okay, Asa.
Yeah, that kid had a rough
Range.
start.
Hey, Vesa, I can do that. Sweet. We get an alliance with Jarl Rurik the Troublemaker of Holmengarther. That's perfect. I just noticed that you're bi.
I am?
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that about. I did not know that about myself.
All right, well, I'm gonna send you a proposal. Literally.
Sounds good.
Not to be confused with the proposition.
Right. Right.
They are infants, after all.
Right. Okay, let me figure out this new war. So I am defending against Chief Verge. It's about Nara. It's the place I just took. Okay.
I think she was at war to take it as well and chose to stay at war with the new ruler when you won.
Understood. That makes sense.
I think that's what happened.
Okay, so Chiefess Verge. Seems like I can win this easily. Yeah, their military strength is vastly inferior. All right, I'm just going to have my army...
Not the one territory. I think you could just take the territory you win by default.
It's actually a very
Unless
good
they
point.
have some of yours at the time, which they wouldn't currently.
Country capital is where? Oh, it's their neighbors. That makes sense. Okay, well, do I just go to their capital and crush them? Is that the plan? I can even divide my forces in half pretty easily.
It sounds like a good plan to me. Ooh, dang. I wonder... Okay, well, once my raiders get back, I may be able to just march into Finland.
Oh, my. Oh, my. How do I select half of the forces?
Okay, so
there we go. I see. I got it.
There's also some, because of the troop quality measurement, there's also some good stuff to be done with, like, manually separating your detachments into, like, here are my levies who are going to stay behind and siege this place, and then I'm going to take my, like, actual men-at-arms with me, like, to go do a battle.
I gotcha.
Which is the button next to split army.
Okay, I think I can disband my mercenaries now.
Well, they will actually. You've hired them for a certain term.
Gotcha. So I have them. I may as well use them.
Exactly.
Especially
if you disband them, they still hang around. They're just not on the field. They're just in your service in the military tab.
Understood.
One thing I've noticed about myself during the stream is that I gesture while I talk on stream as though I can be seen, even though I
can slightly hear people gesturing, though, is my weird theory. Like it's you like whenever I talk to anybody who's like a singer and has never tried rapping, right? Not that necessarily all singers need to rap in public, but it's like try it, and if you do it without putting your body into it, when you listen to yourself back, you will sound like you're asleep. Like
fascinating.
Yeah. All right, shall we?
I think we shall.
I think this is going to be a very short war if I have a sense of this game. Oh, hey, I have a betrothal option here.
Yeah, and having, not to be a little bit selfish here, but I feel like having you on my side is going to be better for me than you having me on your side. I feel like fighting Sweden is not really going to be possible for me without Rurik in my corner.
It's fair.
I'm also just imagining this, Baltic like commercial, like Rurik in your corner. There should be a jingle, I guess, is what I'm saying. I had to pause to make sure I didn't get caught by this returning hostile army while I was exfiltrating my raiders, but now we're good. So, that's what raiders do, right? They exfiltrate.
I think so. Oh, my wife's pregnant again.
Mazel tov, as
Thank
the
you.
Finnish say.
That's what they do. What trade is important for Chancellor?
Chancellor is diplomacy.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think it will literally bold that. To tell
Oh,
you
yeah,
that...
totally.
Oh, well, I lost that battle somehow. I don't have any clue what just happened, but all of my raid loot is gone. Great.
Whoa.
The battle took 2 days. I didn't lose it. My dudes are still here. Yeah, very strange. Yeah, convert and stay. You're good. Got a perk. Oh, my domain limit up too. That would have been useful. I'm pausing.
Oh, I shouldn't have had those mercenaries leave home. That would have been smarter to just let them defend, but that's all right. They're on their way back.
Yeah, that's all good.
It won't take them 3 months to march.
Oh, your little banner has blue flags on top of it on my map now because we're allies.
Aw,
Bestest buds.
love that. I love that for us.
Yeah. That's so adorable. I had all this raid loot.
This
Now
war is
it's
about
gone.
to be very much over.
Awesome.
Oh, I gained a level of fame. My glory is widely known.
Huzzah. Oh. Come back in shame and ignominy.
All right, I'm just going to pause real quick to take a look at the state of things. I have some neighbors who are getting disquietingly powerful, but otherwise things are in good
Minsk
shape.
was big.
Yeah, Minsk has gotten big. That might be something we deal with together later.
Yeah, you do have double their troops at the moment, but I imagine that's counting your mercenaries, so.
Exactly. Yeah. I hired a whole bunch of mercenaries when that war wasn't going my way.
Yeah. They can do a lot of good for you. Ooh. Build some more markets. Just markets all the way down.
Yeah, I gotta. I'm a little. That war was very successful, and I'm covered in glory, but it did beggar me a little bit.
Yeah. I literally have 0 money at the moment, although my balance is positive, which is good.
That is good.
That.
Oh, can your balance go negative?
Yes. It certainly can. You can go into debt, which applies penalties until you're back positive, and then there is a certain amount, I don't know exactly where it cuts off, that you can't go that nobody will actually take your money if it's going to put you that far into debt. Just be like, no, you're not good for that. And at the moment, you can also have a negative or a positive balance, right? So you're losing 1/10 of the wealth every month, but presumably once all your troops are returned home and disbanded, which actually I guess you can, since the war is over, there's a little button for disband all at the bottom.
Oh, nice. Noted.
One of the things that used to happen too is if you disbanded your troops out, away from home, it would penalize your levies.
It doesn't do that anymore, though.
It doesn't, as far as I can tell, it doesn't do. You
yeah.
can still, if you raised your troops and then put them down immediately and try to raise them somewhere else, it will delay the mustering.
Sure. Okay. I'm good then. I mean, this is actually a decent place to stop from my perspective. So if you have some stuff you want to finish up, let's do that.
I think I would like to go to the first, maybe, because I think that's going to put my prestige balance positive. But then, yeah, that could be a pretty good stopping point.
Cool.
And then next time we can test loading a game.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. It's been auto-saving. I have not manually saved at all, which perhaps I should have been doing a lot.
Unpausing, and we'll just go to the first. only the host can change speed. And see what my prestige looks like there, because I think it's going to be positive at that point. Yeah, perfect. All right, well, I'm pretty sure only you can save the game too, so go ahead and do that.
I will do that.
I have a moment.
Game is paused. Save game. Yeah, put that in the cloud. Lovely.
That's not a bad idea.
There we are.
All right, so let's see. Oh, you can go back to the multiplayer lobby this time.
That's cool. Oh, nice. That's very cool, actually.
That the game state was changed on loading in Crusader Kings II, so you had to go all the way out of the game to load into any
that makes
game.
sense, and it's not fun at all. So here someone could presumably join the fun, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, they could just be like, oh, I'm Sweden now, and take on both of us. Which could maybe be fun. But yeah, good inaugural session. Honestly, we both accomplished our first couple of goals.
Yeah,
not a given. And you learned maybe something about war.
I definitely learned something about war. I mean, the thing is, a lot of what I learned was just mechanical, right? Because with the martial, the nigh on superhuman martial ability that Jarl has, or that Jarl Rorik has, it was totally fine for me to do something that provocative and stupid. I just had to know how to keep an eye on not getting my capital captured, right?
Right, yeah, because that's actually a real big deal. And I found that out. The AI really likes to run to your capital as a defensive maneuver. So I've learned to, if I can hire mercenaries, I'll just plunk the mercenaries on the capital until I have some more pressing stuff for them to siege back.
Smart.
But it's also a valid strategy if you can get to their capital without screwing over your supplies for your army, or getting in over your head. It's a decent strategy for winning a war, right? Hey, I just got all your stuff, give me what I want.
Well, I'm starting to think, just to set things up for next time, that Tartu and Voti are sure looking like targets for wars of expansion, since I'm gonna keep warring with the folks who run those either way. May as well get the drop on them.
Well, and I need to expand enough to get to create the Kingdom of Finland, as well as stop Swedish encroachment into Finnish territory, because it's going to be hard to get back if they manage to get it, from AI people. So, we can you can advance to your northern border, I can advance to my southern border, we can help each other out. Maybe the way truces work, maybe we can kind of alternate wars to expand, because if I can get a king title, then I'll always have all of my territory, even as it fractures among my sons. I won't hold all of it myself anymore, but it won't start its own territory. You won't be dealing with a crisis every time one of those things passes to someone else or becomes powerful. Yeah, and you can be in the same kind of thing. I think you can get the Kingdom of probably Rus, if I had to guess, but I closed the game, so
makes sense. We'll figure it out next time. Cool. Well, hey, everybody watching, I know more people watch these after the fact than during the fact. That's a weird thing to say. You know what I mean? Tune in next time for more of this. There'll also be some more of Luce and I playing Souls games, and then maybe some other stuff. Podcast is gonna keep happening. Thank you for enjoying all of our weird nonsense. Adam, thanks a ton for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for giving me some CK3 co-op. This has been great, and I hope we get to do a lot more of it.
Yeah, Hear. All right, so long, everyone.